Welcome back to Racing Action. If you're rejoining us in the new stream, it's finals time here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club for the 2021 Able Finance King of the Hill. Big shout out to Able Finance, in operation since 1993, building a solid reputation for professional advice and offering hundreds of mortgages and business loan products for several lenders. And naming rights sponsors, and a big thank you to Able Finance getting behind the event and helping us put this on here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. If you want information from Able Finance, go to sales@ablefinance.com.au or call Darren from 8:30 till 5, Monday to Friday. But we are on track. KA3 Senior out for their 15-lap final. Qualifying and heat racing is all boiled down to this. This is the money race. This is the one that pays the bills. Not actually, but figuratively we say. This is the one where you're going to take home the plastic silverware, sitting over at the canteen, awaiting its winners. Ryan Nicholson and Jason Betts on the front row of the grid. Thomas Lawton is in there as well. Michael Jones should arrive on the scene at some point. As the whole grid rolling around to get formed up and get out and race in here. This could be anyone's race because these guys are pretty much only raced in the dry. But now come wet weather racing, they all bolt on a set of sticker wets and they'll go round once more. They won't get a start just yet. But they all bolt on the wets and it's kind of completely untried and untested. The list of unknowns is as long as your forearm. How's it going to handle? Will I have enough steering? Can I actually drive in the wet? I'm only used to driving in the dry right now. All these questions will be answered over the next 15 laps of racing here for KA3 Senior, brought to you by Serenity Marine. And one to watch here, you would have to say, would be Michael Jones. I'm a big fan of Team Jonesy, but his experience might have something to say in the wet here as the lights go out and Setless Racing. Nicholson leading the field down into turn one here, and he will emerge with Betsy alongside him. Jones has actually dropped back in this early stage. He's back into the third spot. Well, we get a couple off, and it's Hobson again off the road at the chicane. And he will rejoin, but it's Ryan Nicholson leading the way. Michael Jonesy Jones into the second spot. Jason Betts into third from Thomas Lawton and Bree Rhodes. Mason Fraser and Brandon Dunco behind them here as they're all trying to find their feet in the wet weather, dashing through the little puddles that are forming up against the apex curbing and the right-handers. Lap number one going down to Ryan Nicholson. Someone losing their bumper or some part of a bumper up at the chicane there. We'll keep an eye on whose that is meant to be. So we'll keep an eye and watch them filter through at the bus stop to see who lost part of their bumper. And I'm trying to just eyeball them as they come past here. Yep, that looks like it is Braden Bowra. The 53 machine as now Bree Rhodes and Tommy Lawton up the inside of Ryan Nicholson. 2 for 1 deal. Thanks for coming, Ryan. Bree Rhodes, in her debut in seniors, leads the way in the final. Young Breezer. Hey, Ryan Nicholson has a wheel come off on the back straightaway. Heartbreak for Nicholson. Oh, man. And the wheel you can see across the top of your screen rolling its way along the top of the hill. That is ultimate heartbreak for Ryan Nicholson here. Frenetic scenes as they were frantically trying to change over to wets on the outgrid. And unfortunately, something just didn't get done up as it should have been. And Ryan Nicholson's campaign of winning the heat races and being in fine form to win the final goes entirely out the window. Who picks up the pieces? None other than young Bree Rhodes in her maiden event into seniors. I mean, 6 days ago, she was racing KA2 with her brother, talking about trying not to send each other off the racetrack. And now she leads the way in the final here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Leading just ahead of Thomas Lawton, another graduate from juniors of recent times. But Thomas has a bit more experience in the senior ranks at this point. And the man who has the most experience, Michael Jones, back there in third. He's getting a big old hurry up from Brandon Duncombe. The Blue Plates 29 machine. Look at him leaning in the seat, trying to generate traction for the kart, but couldn't get it rotated through turn one. And Jonesy does the over and under and retakes the third spot. Mason Fraser behind him. And it looks like he's got a bumper dragging on the ground, does Fraser, as he goes up the inside, goes with Duncombe and puts Jonesy down another spot. So Duncombe down to 3 now. Mason Fraser into P4. Fraser definitely does have a bumper dragging on the ground. If it's attached though, if it's still attached to the kart, he's okay. That's the way the rules read from Karting Australia. So we'll leave that in the hands of the officials as he comes down the main straightaway. So it's all happening here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club in the first of the finals for KA3 Senior, brought to you by Serenity Marine. As we watch the field go pouring out, we grab back up with Mason Fraser and just look to the left-hand side of his kart as he comes through the corner. You can see that bumper bar, and that is bouncing its way as he drops the wheel off into the rumble strip. But up the pointy end of the field, it's the two Cosmic karts, Bree Road and Tommy Lawton, leading the way here. They head up towards the chicane. Last time across the line, almost matching each other on lap times. Trying to get the most out of these Cosmic karts out front. Bree has an advantage, 7.5 tenths of a second. We're not quite at the halfway point yet, so still lots to come here in the final. Watching on as Bree Rhodes continues to stomp her way around the track here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. She's opening up the lead. It's out to just over a second now over Tommy Lawton in second. With Brandon Duncombe back there in third. Duncombe is lapping the quickest of the top 3, but he's 2 seconds off the back of Lawton here. Duncombe is on a mission at the moment, trying to close up the gap to see if he can fight further forward inside the top 3. As Bree Rhodes down the line, 7 laps to go into the second half of the race. And she had a slow one that time by us. Look at Lawton sideways, 4-wheel drifting his way across the racetrack as he comes out of turn 1. Meanwhile, Brandon Duncombe, hot lap in the race again, a 41.1. He was half a second quicker than Bree Rhodes. He was 3 tenths quicker than Tommy Lawton. So Brandon is on a mission here as Billy Duncombe jumps out of the way, going a lap down to your race leaders. About to be lapped by his brother, Brandon, who is on a charge to try and chase down the leaders in this wet final here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. There he is with the blue plate, the 29 machine, trying to chase him down on the main straightaway. 6 to go. That time by for Bree Rhodes. And the gap comes down a little bit again. Thomas Lawton starting to make inroads on Bree Rhodes here. It's down to 7.3 tenths of a second. And they're coming up on a bit more of the lap traffic. Oh, he cuts across the racetrack. Tommy Lawton would have been all tensed up and locking up every muscle in his body as that all happened in front of him. But he's still trying to close down that gap to Bree in front. Geez, even with the tinted visor on right now, things will be getting hard to see out there. As you can see, Lawton sideways through the final corner and down the main straightaway. It's down to half a second. Duncombe is 1.5 further off them and still lapping 0.4 of a second per lap quicker than Lawton right now. So it's all coming to a head with 5 laps to go here. Can Lawton catch Rhodes? Can Duncombe catch them both? All questions will be answered in 4.5 laps time here. You can see how much more aggressive Thomas Lawton is, trying to wrestle the kart down to the inside line. and keep it flowing through the corners. A bit of opposite lock in the right-handers, whereas Bree is just driving it smooth and very, very decided moves on the wheel here, trying to keep the kart squared up and down the line. That time by, they were almost matched on pace. Bree Rhodes getting away only about 7/100ths of a second that time across, but he's within 4/10 now. And it looks like Thomas Lawton is making the biggest gains on Bree Rhodes through that back chicane as they come onto the back straightaway. Lawton doing his best to try and close the gap as Duncombe behind them, trying to chase them down. Coming into the final couple of sections of the lap here. Just over 3 to go for Bree Rhodes, your race leader. More lap traffic coming to them as well. And this is going to get really racy. Lawton touches the outside painted line there and just snap oversteers the kart on the main straight. Brandon Duncombe hot laps the race. A 41.03 for Duncombe. This is what we love about finals in Wundowie. It all comes to the final couple of laps here. The KA3 Senior, brought to you by Serenity Marine. Thomas Lawton looks over his shoulder in disbelief. Where's this bloke coming from? This is getting real racy here as he jacks the inside tyre off the ground, turning it into the left-hand switchback, wrapping around the final couple of corners. They are almost glued together now as they come onto the main straightaway. 2 to go for Bree Rhodes. Can she survive this final couple of laps? Because the assault is coming. Lawton and Duncombe both lining up behind it. Or Lawton's a bit wide there at the chicane. He's out of sorts and Duncombe goes alongside. They're going to be the last of the late breakers down into the dipper. He switches back. They're going to go side by side and Lawton will grab the spot again. This is all falling into the favour of Bree Rhodes, who's taking advantage of them squabbling to open up the gap again. Coming up onto the back of this lap traffic, it's a 44 machine of Riley Wastel, about to go a lap down to your race leaders as they come around the final couple of corners. The last lap board is out. Bree Rhodes is 1 lap away from standing on the top step of the podium on debut in seniors here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Meanwhile, Tommy Lawton is just trying to hang on to second now. How differently the situation has changed on this final lap as Duncombe is giving him a big old hurry up through the chicane. They're going to do it again. Under brakes into the dipper. This time Duncombe checks it up on the apex and hangs Lawton out the dry. Oh, they almost touch and run off the road as Bree is trying to find a way up past the lap on Duncombe again. Almost putting it in the dirt under brakes into the bus stop. But he will stay in third. Can he get Lawton on this final couple of corners? He's not close enough. The checkered flag is out and waiting. Put your hands together and she brings it around. On debut, Bree Rhodes wins in KA3 Senior in a stellar drive here in the rain at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Thomas Lawton did everything he could to bring it home in second. Brandon Duncombe with a stellar drive to come home on the podium in third. Callum Harper will round out P4 and Joel Wheeler will round out your top 5. What a race for KA3 Senior, brought to you by Serenity Marine. Absolute thriller to start our finals here at the King of the Hill for 2021 here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club.
Terrible conditions against one hell of a tough, well-stacked field. Congratulations, Bree Rhodes. You've got to be so happy with your performance there in that final.
Oh, I'm absolutely stoked. I literally cannot believe I just did that. It felt surreal. As soon as I was in the lead, I was like, oh my God, am I actually doing this? Yeah, oh, literally like so happy right now. It's amazing, and it's a really good way to start seniors.
Dad, Sam Rhodes was here at the gate as you were rolling on through the final cool-down lap, and he was jumping out of his skin. He's normally a fairly reserved kind of guy, but he was absolutely ecstatic. Congratulations. Anyone you want to shout out to that might be watching?
I'd like to shout out to Jaden Pierce and my mum, because I know she's probably watching right now. So thanks everybody for making this happen. It's been awesome.
Bree Rhodes, ladies and gentlemen, the first of our final winners here at King of the Hill.
Fantastic result, and couldn't be more of a deserving person to step into seniors for the first time and come out on top. That is the kind of racing we expect from King of the Hill, nothing less, and maybe even plenty more if we can get it. We are set for a lot more of that kind of racing, I'm sure. Cadet 12 are lined up on the outgrid. You can see the scenes happening down there. Tommy Lawton running straight out of the cart to come down and wish his fellow Eurotech driver good luck here. Chase Wildman standing on the outgrid and doing final pumps for tyre. This is a great camera shot. Shelley Wildman on the pump. Jace will be screaming at home right now. See, you actually do work on a go-kart, Shelley. Thank you for joining us for 4-Star Media's broadcast here at the King of the Hill 2021. They are just trying to get Chase Wildman started and out of the grid here. As the rest of the field has made their way out onto the track. Wildman still on the grid. They've got it spooled up and they get him out there and on track. So Wildman, no, it's not wanting to go. So Chase Wildman has made it out on track here in what was going to be a heart-stopping moment for the family, I'm sure, as he's due to start on pole for the 15-lap final. And they've sent him out right with the guys that he's starting around. So I believe he should be able to just take his spot and move on. There is a rule that has a formation line somewhere in there that I haven't quite read properly and still don't fully understand, but we'll leave that up to the drivers and teams getting things sorted as we line up for Cadet 12, proudly brought to you by Shannon's Insurance. Insurance for motoring enthusiasts. It's Chase Wildman and Campbell Thompson on the front row. Bailey Reardon and Ben Hall on the second row of the grid. From Jordan Klee and the Kart Co kid, young Leroy Toon starting on the third row. And then behind them, I think it is Orlando Ricciardello. Starting alongside the 35 machine. We'll try and pick them up as they come on down. No lights out start this time by, so they will go around once again here. Frantically trying to pick up all of our starting grids as Cadet 12 comes at you. This is the first step out of Cadet 9s. So the youngsters you see in Cadet 9s coming up very shortly here, they progress into Cadet 12s. The same engine capacity, same engine on board the karts, just minus the restrictor, and they get to go that little bit quicker as they get older and develop their skills. The next step out is onto juniors in the likes of KA4 and KA3 Junior categories, where they bolt on the bigger Iami KA100 engines and go racing with a wider tyre in the wet here tonight at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Look at them. Rip-roaring and ready to go here. Watch the lights to send us racing. We are lights out and away for 15 laps here in Cadet 12. Pouring on down to turn 1. And we're all going to try and get through nice and clean here. It's Wildman, the leader, to start things off here. Campbell Thompson right behind him in second. Campbell has had a great run in wet weather at race meetings recent as Chase Webb trying to go up the inside down into the dipper for the first time. Webb on the inside, he checks it up, he goes to second. It's actually Benjamin Hall. I stand corrected on that one as Webb is a lot further back than he would like to be. with a lot of work to do for Chase Webb here. He must have been served with a penalty throughout the heat races because he is way much further down than I expected him to be following the heat race finishes. But it's Wildman out front here with Ben Hall chasing him down. Campbell Thompson in that third spot from the Kart kid. Leroy Toon into P4. Bailey Reardon in P5 as they come through turn 1. Running nice and wide, giving that inside line a big old wide berth here as they try and stay off the greasy racing line. All week we've been staring at the weather forecast, hoping for a dry race day. And I think that this actually couldn't have worked out any better from a spectator's perspective because it is absolute chaos. Fantastic to watch the action here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. We've been here in recent years where it's rained so hard that we had to stop racing to pump water out of the lake that formed on the main straight. Luckily, it's not raining that heavy today, but we do have a slip and slidey racetrack to greet our drivers for the finals here as Wildman flicks the kart sideways onto the main straightaway. Benjamin Hall, though, is staying with him, and we could see a really solid challenge here from young Ben Hall, who has the ever so cool, calm and collected composure about him. As we follow along the progress here, Wildman, look at him getting sideways, stepping through the right-handers. And Jason Wildman watching. I'm pretty sure he's up on site, and I'm sure he's not getting any work done right now because he will be glued to the screen with bated breath watching all of this go down right now. Back to the battle for third and fourth. Campbell Thompson and Leroy Toon chasing each other around the track here as they head up past the canteen into the chicane. Campbell sideways and feeding it a bit of opposite lock to get onto the straight and down into the dipper. Your leaders just flashing across the screen here, but this is a great battle for third. Toon to the right-hand side is definitely out where Angel's fear to tread on that side of the racetrack. And Thompson just trying to hang on to it at the moment. Love the fluoro yellow wheels on that Praga kart for Leroy Toon. The Kart kid, he goes to the inside. The 37 Praga kart grabs the 3 spot now. And he will hang on to it as they feed onto the main straightaway. Leroy's got great control. He's right nice and tight coming onto the straightaway. With Campbell is out sideways and all over the place, trying to gather it up as they come around onto the main straight. But now Leroy up into third and staring down the barrel of a podium here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club with a long way yet to go. Last time across the stripe, Wildman and Hall hot lapping the race, 47.2 and 47.1 respectively. And they are separated by just a couple of tenths of a second as they head into the second half of the racetrack. We'll follow along young Leroy at the moment, hanging on to third and kicking up the water spray behind the Praga kart as he now has a bit of a lonely drive and seeing if he can push the pace and step it up to chase these guys down. Great scenes watching these two dance their way around the circuit here in the rain. There's a certain art to driving in the wet, and some drivers get it, some drivers don't, as Wildman fires across the racetrack to gather it up under brakes. And they almost catch up the unfortunate spun kart, the 13 Kart Republic chassis of young Elliot Johnson, who's certainly trying to find his feet in the wet weather conditions. And down the line they go. 9 laps to go here. Chase Wildman and Benjamin Hall, first and second on the road in the wet here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club for Cadet 12, brought to you by Shannon's Insurance. See Wildman using so much at the racetrack all the way out to the last inch of the edges. Just flirting with that painted white line here. It's always a bit of a no man's land. You feel like you're not here nor there driving out of the dipper because it's so wide on exit. As shots of Orlando Ricciardello here. Orlando finding his feet in the wet as well. He's unfortunately down in 22nd spot. And just found himself passing Aiden Nichols to move up into the 21st spot here. As the leaders come through and coming up on the back of lap traffic. This can always be a nervous moment for the youngsters as Wildman just feeds his way up the inside. Ben Hall goes around the outside to pick up the spot and continue charging forward. The next one in line will be young Orlando to go down to your race leaders. And they're coming up to the braking section into the dipper. Wildman is through and almost gathering it up just to pull up alongside. I think that's Graham Bernarde in the 46 machine. That has allowed your leaders to close up as they come out of the bus stop. There's another spun go-kart that you couldn't quite see on camera there, but that was all very dicey for those guys coming through. As the number 6 machine, I think it was maybe the 8 of Ryan Warner getting caught up there on the exit of the bus stop. And almost threw a spanner in the works for your race leaders. So a new kind of nervousness comes about now as these guys try and find their way through lap traffic and trying to do so without losing as much time as each other so they can have an advantage. Lap traffic can play such a huge part in racing of any form, but especially in these cadet races, especially in the wet. You can spend all race long building a gap, but Wildman's getting hungry. He's going for a 2 for 1. He's going to squeak through. And this is where Wildman will gain the advantage out of that, because now Ben Hall is stuck behind them and having to get creative and almost off the racetrack. And that allows Wildman to skip away here. That's the advantage of picking your moment wisely. And truth be told, it could have gone either way for young Chase, but it's worked out in his favour this time as they come up to the back of young Duncan. Oh, they touched as well. Wildman's taken a couple of risks here and there, but he's leading the way. We're watching Chase Wildman with 6 laps to go. Kicking the back end out, under brakes into the bus stop. He leads from Benjamin Hall. This is processional, but Ben is doing everything he can to close the gap and stay in the fight. He's been within a couple of tenths of a second all race long here, up until the point they caught the lap traffic. As they come down the line, it'll be 5 to go here. The gap back to Leroy Toon. A solid one at that for the Kartco kid. He comes across the line now. He's 6 seconds off the back of Ben Hall. As Wildman sideways under brakes into the chicane. Just trying to keep the corner speed up, keep the revs up. As there's more and more karts dropping like flies in the tough conditions here. And coming up on some more lap traffic, it's going to be a tough one. Under brakes down at the bus stop. Wildman gets through, and this is where he's going to get an advantage on Hall as well. As they just get past the 38 of Julian Barbas. And Ben Hall doing it around the outside. Will be kicking himself that it's happened twice now that Wildman's managed to get through before the corner. And Ben Hall gets caught up on the corner exit. He's the fastest man on the racetrack. He has the fastest lap of the race of 46.7 for Ben Hall, but he's just trying to get lucky with track position again. Wildman fires up the, it was close there. Almost fed a bumper into the front nose cone of the 55 of Ethan Rowitz. Now Ben Hall might get one under brakes here. Young Razzo next in line here. Young Nicholas in the number 3 machine. Now Wildman gets up the inside at the bus stop. And we'll wrap it around. Ben Hall caught up behind Razzo now. Trying to find a way around him, but Wildman is going to get a huge advantage out of this one. This will be a decisive moment of the race as they come down the line. Hall has gotten through. And there was a spin just a moment ago here from young Elliot Johnson, who's slowing to let the karts go through. So Elliot trying to do the right thing and doing the best job he can as he lets the leaders go on again. So with 3 laps to go, last time across the line, Chase Wildman continues to stomp his way around the circuit. He's gotten lucky and he's taken advantage of that with track position, passing some of the lap traffic, putting himself in prime position up the inside of young Jordan Klee. Coming onto the main straightaway, the Wildman has 2 laps to go here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club in a wet 15-lap final. Ben Hall back there in second. Leroy Toon in the third spot. As Ben Hall gets it done on clean as they head onto the back straightaway. Can he put the hammer down and close the gap in this final couple of laps? We've seen stranger things before. Cast your mind back to the 2020 state championships at Geraldton. And Nash Ferraro made up a deficit that was over a second in 2 laps to claim the win on the final corners of the final lap. But it's Chase Wildman bringing his way onto the main straightaway. You can see the board. That is 1 to go here for Wildman down the line. And Ben Hall trying to close that gap and go with him here. 1.1 seconds the gap. They're coming up onto some lap traffic. This is going to be the most nervous one of the lot here as they make their way onto the back straight. It's Ryan Warner and somebody else on track at the moment with them. And they're about to go a lap down. And your leaders arriving hot on the scene. Wildman can't afford to button off and just circulate either because Hall is right there and he's going to catch them both right on the exit of the bus stop. Oh, this is getting very dicey. They're trying to almost go 3 wide. Wildman cuts across to cover it off and he's going to get up the inside of the 31 of Riley Curry. He's going to tuck in behind Warner. Here comes Hall. No, it couldn't be. Benjamin Hall will steal it on the main straight and across the line. Benjamin Hall steals it at the finish. Oh my goodness. Ben Hall grabs the win at the flag by 53 thousandths of a second in your Cadet 12 final, and they are still racing it out like it isn't over yet, but the flag has dropped and Benjamin Hall will grab the top step of the podium, capitalizing on the circumstances on the final lap to grab the win here. Chase Wildman will have to settle for second tonight at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, and Leroy Toon will be home in third. Zach Casagrande home in P4, and Campbell Thompson will round out your top 5.
Ben Hall, congratulations taking out the Shannon's Insurance Cadets Racing. Congratulations, mate. You must be so over the moon.
Yeah, I am. It was a big confusion between the last lap and checkered flag because of the lap traffic, but the kart felt good, and yeah.
You did an absolutely incredible job. You picked the pocket right there on the very last corner and came in only 53 1/1000ths of a second victorious, mate. Job well done. Anyone you want to shout out to?
Big thanks to my sister, my mum, flat out, and that's it.
Great stuff. Well done.
Thank you.
Back to you.
J-Mac doing his best to try and get more than 3 words out of the kids is never an easy task. We're back on track with Mechanical Piping Services KA3 Junior lining up to go racing for their 15-lapper, and we could have another thriller on our hands here because it looks like it's Connor Payne starting on the pole spot with Toby Mayolo on the outside front row, Sachin Smith-Way and Ashton Sprague on row 2 with Todd Vince and Cooper Lyle on row 3 as they go past. The lights go out. It was pretty late, but the lights did go out, and we go racing. Connor Payne will lead the field. Past turn 1, Mayolo looking to the inside. He's going to bounce off the curb and keep it in check. There's someone facing the wrong direction. That was Todd Vince, who started in the first couple of rows of the grid. So a hard one there for Todd. But this will be Mayolo getting an early break here. He grabbed the lead from Payne down at the dipper. Sachin Smith-Way looks to the inside now. Jed McDonald back there in the 4th spot. By laws of dumb math, you'd have to say he'd be pretty good in the wet, being a dirt kart driver. We'll see if that transfers over to racing in the wet here for young Jet in the Swiss Heartless machine. Down the line in 4th right now, putting the pressure. Oh, jeez. Sprague pulled out at the same time as McDonald, and they went firing into the back of Connor Payne, who just about went for a wild ride through the gravel. And Ashton Sprague actually was the biggest winner out of that. He jumps to the 3rd spot from 5th on the road as they cross the start-finish line. But now he's under pressure as Nick Stardy looks to the inside through the dipper. Can't get it done, and Ashton will stay in 3rd now, looking forward to Sachin Smith-Way in 2nd. Stardy looks to the inside again through the bus stop, but he hangs him out to dry. Sprague leaves him room, and they're going to go side by side here. Ashton will hang on to the spot, but Stardy is just relentless. He is assaulting the inside line that Ashton Sprague is trying to get onto. Meanwhile, Toby Mayolo saying, see you later. He is gone out there. 3 seconds the gap already for Mayolo. Sachin Smith-Way back there in the 2nd spot. Just hoping these 3 don't catch up to him here. Ashton in 3rd from Starty. Having a look up the inside again at the dipper. Bogs it down on the exit and can't get the drive down towards the bus stop. Behind them, Jet McDonald just watching on, unable to make an impact on this battle here as they climb their way through the right-handers. Sprague has probably got his head on a swivel right now, just trying to do his best to hang on to it over Nick Stardy, working the wheel. As they all have a cheeky look over the shoulder. In fact, the only one who didn't have a look over the shoulder was Sprague. So Dan's taught him well not to look over the shoulder. I remember in my years in rookies, Dan taught me that, as I'd almost ran myself clean through the gravel racing here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club back in the early 2000s. The easiest way to veer yourself off the racetrack. You got no control where you're pointing that go-kart when you look over your shoulder. And Sachin still hanging on to this 2nd spot, but now he's starting to come under pressure from Ashton and Nicholas, who are still fighting over who wants to be the first in line to get him. Get a move on with it, as now Sprague goes to the inside. Great late move there from Sprague, but he's given it up on the exit. And now Stardy wants to get through. And they're going to run side by side. Sprague moves over in a smart piece of driving to cover off Nick Stardy, who's trying to go side by side through turn 1. Jet McDonald's in this fight now as well. Meanwhile, all this time, Toby Mayolo just continues to skip away with the race lead here, as now Nick Stardy has tried again. He's still not doing it, and Sprague is tapping on the helmet, communicating to Stardy to use your brain. Let's think, boys. Let's get him. Meanwhile, Sachin is just sitting at the point of this pack, hoping and praying that he can hang on to it here, because these guys are snarling and racing hard behind him. And Toby Mayolo is just gone. He's out of here. Toby Mayolo's already past the canteen as these guys hit the straightaway. with 10 laps to go. Maiolo's out to an 8-second lead. This kid is a demon in the wet. Catching up with the action. This is still getting super dicey. Ashton has been dropped off on that previous lap here, and we'll keep on following it. This is the fight for second, third, fourth, and then fifth with Ashton right there as well. And the raindrops smattering across our camera lens, looking out from the eastern side of the track here on top of the hill as they continue to race it out. No one's got a chance of catching Toby at this rate. He's piling on almost a second a lap, if not more than a second a lap, every lap they do here. And at this rate, he could end up taking this one out by over 15 seconds across the stripe. But now it's Nick Stardy bumping himself up into the second spot, finally getting there to where he's been showing a wheel for the past 6 laps on track. And Sachin Smith way behind him, getting dropped off into the third spot. Now Jet McDonald looking for his way around. See if he can pick up a podium spot here for the Swiss Hutless machine. Looking his way around. Stardy covering off the inside line down at the dipper. Sorry, Sachin Smith way covering off the inside line down at the dipper. But now he leaves the door open, and Jet McDonald's just going to go sailing up the inside. Sachin tries the over and under, and they're going to almost get together at the left-hander. This brings Ashton into the fight now. And he looks to the inside of Sachin and grabs it. I love this set of corners. Makes for some great racing as they're going to go side by side coming onto the straight again. Now they're just slowing each other down at this point, moving each other across the racetrack. Sachin thinks, oh, he's there, he's got me. Moves back onto the race line to try and open up the corner. And Ashton's still giving the hand signals, tapping the helmet as he goes past Sachin, saying, let's think about it. But Sachin is having none of it. They are going to race it to the very end here. Oh, they're into each other. Good save from both of them. But that is certainly not using your brain like Ashton may have been signalling to Sachin here. As he goes firing up the inside of the bus stop. If you're getting frustrated with this now, as they are just watching the two in front. They were racing with Nick Stardy and Jet McDonald just a moment ago. And now they have a huge gap behind them to try and make up. As they come up behind the 94 of Mason Walksack, who's rolling along down the main straightaway, just not really enjoying his time out here in the wet. As Nick Stardy slides his way through the chicane and onto the back straightaway. The best he can hope for tonight is running second to his mate Toby. His Maiolo is out to an 11-second lead. Where even is Maiolo? As we watch Stardy come out of the bus stop, Maiolo is on the main straight. That's the gap of 11 seconds. And as Stardy makes his way onto the main straightaway, Stardy hits the straight as Maiolo is up at the chicane. That is the massive lead that young Toby Maiolo has as they come across the line. 11.5 seconds for Toby Maiolo out front. This kid is a machine when it comes to the wet weather conditions. And now Stardy has found himself into some clean air, finally. He's still giving away time to Maiolo. 0.6 of a second he gave away on the previous lap. But Maiolo has a hot lap of the race of a 42.7 as he makes his way onto the main straightaway. And leading this one out here in the number 23, Sarah Kart. For OJG Engineering and Bunbury Kartworks, young Toby continuing to click off the laps down the straight. And it looks like there's an issue. There is an issue for second place. Nicholas Stardy has had an issue on the straight. Just catching that, going past our commentary position up here in the tower. The 15 kart has gone dead on the main straight. So second place is eventually going to come around. Here he is, Jet McDonald will claim the second spot now. Ashton Sprague will go to third. Oh, that's a heartbreaker there. For Nick Stardy, it just sounded like it went dead going down the straight. Yes, it is. As Jet McDonald in the 83 Swiss Atlas machine, grabs the second spot. Ashton Sprague behind him in third. With 3 laps to go down the line here. They would have both seen what happened with Nick as they were behind him when it went dead down the straight, and poor old Nick is going to be a spectator for the remainder of this one. But no one is going to stop this young man from storming his way through. I think this may even be his first, or on his way to what could be his first open win in juniors. Toby Maiolo on an absolute mission down the line, and it's just nothing but cloudy daylight between him and second place of Jet McDonald with 2 laps to go. Last time at the line. Gives a lick to the painted white line on the way into the chicane. Dash jumping between the puddles on the curbing of the chicane and sliding his way through the dipper. He's still lapping quicker than the guys in second and third. As he comes down, you see a dejected Nicola Stardi watching on from the light post down at the infield beyond the bus stop. With the last lap board out to collect him, Toby Maiolo. With a flex of the hands just to release the wheel for a moment and continuing to storm his way around the track. Nobody's going to stop this young man tonight here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Big bite of the curbs on the final lap through the chicane. It's a 14.3 second lead that he has over Jet McDonald here. And coming up on some more lap traffic, the 76 machine of Lachlan Clee, the next in line to be swallowed up by this uber quick kid in the wet. Toby Maiolo making his way around the final corners for the final lap here. Bringing it round. It's a runaway win, a dominant performance. Toby Maiolo wins KA3 Junior. Look at him, he is ecstatic coming down the line. Maiolo wins in a dominant drive as we wait for the next karts to come through to pick up your second place drivers. Coming through in the red and white here, Jet McDonald on the podium tonight in second, and Ashton Sprague in the Sonic Racer entry, the 24 kart, will come home in third. And there's the results there. Sachin Smith away in fourth. Jackson Mitchell-Rosenau with a great drive through to fifth here. Wesley Hobson in the sixth spot. And Christian Politano due to drive it home in P7 over Rocco Kane, Todd Vince, and Joshua Nichols, your top 10.
Congratulations, Toby Maiolo, taking out the MPS KA4 final. You must be so excited. It was a tough race out there, but you just walked away with the lead. 14 seconds, the gap between first and second place. Well done.
Thank you. It means a lot. It's so good to finally get a couple wins at this place, and looking forward to States next couple months, or in a month or two.
This, I think, is your first win in an open kart. What's it like running out there with some pretty tough guys on the starts and throughout the course of the race?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially in the wet. Really like the wet conditions, so yeah.
Best of luck, mate. We're looking forward to seeing your star continue to shine. Well done.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chris.
And it doesn't come easy to put in a performance like that and storm on home as we move on to Cadet 9. out on track next here for their 15-lap final, brought to you by Just Commodore, proud supporters of the youngsters, and it's great to have some support for the youngest kids in WA karting. The weather has well and truly settled in, and now there's no more sunshine. The rain continues to lightly fall here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, and we are set for a wet series of finals. And this is where those who were playing the game earlier in the day, maybe capitalizing on a cold track and making the most of the wet tyre, especially in the hard tyre classes, may have a bit of a disadvantage come the finals, because they would have hurt the tyre running around on a dry track. We'll see how it all pans out here. We're on with Cadet 9s. As Chase Saxwood picks up the field here, and they all get lined up in formation, rolling around. It's Joel Blackman, who took out the win in the heats earlier on. Some wide-looking wet weather tyres on some of these karts due to the tyre shortage around Australia. Drivers were given, or have been given the allowance to pretty much run whatever tyre you can get your hands on for some of these classes. Not for all of them, but for some of these classes. I don't have the exact bulletin in front of me, but what it's meant is we're running a bit of a different wet weather tyre to what we're used to seeing for the cadets, and that resulted in some odd performance parity issues during the heat races. But Joel Blackman will start on the pole spot here with Chase Saxwood on the outside front row, Connor Mayer and Jake Kostecki with them as well. Let's watch the lights to go out and send us racing. They do not go out. We will stay in formation here. As they'll get fed through the cut through before they get ready to go again for another attempt at their 15-lap final. On the third row of the grid, it's young Michael White and the 77 of Bo Casagrande, the two flat-out karts entries lining up here, and we're joined by the rest of the field as well. It's great to have the Cadet 9s out in force this weekend for the King of the Hill, and great to see the numbers stepping up just a little bit right before the state titles as we run down the line, and lights out and racing. Blackman gets away from the pole. Saxhill trying to go around the outside. Blackman spins it. Oh, unfortunate there for Joel, and they're all going to scramble to go around him. And poor old Joel Blackman, unfortunately, goes from the penthouse to the basement. Can't say the other term in the word. The word in the term. And there's more carnage up at the chicane, unfortunately. It's the 51 of Michael White getting caught up, and a couple more caught up as well there. But it's Chase Saxhill leading the way. Connor Mayer into the second spot here with Jake Kostecki in third. It looks like Bo Casagrande in the fourth spot. They're bringing it around onto the main straightaway. Chase Saxhill leads the way. Connor Mayer into the second spot. One lap down with 14 to go. It's going to be a long and hard race for our Cadet 9s as there's a couple more spinners. The youngsters are always going to have the hardest time in the changing conditions, and they are proving that at the moment. What's going to be a weird experience for some of these drivers, if they've got a big set of tyres on, they're going to be struggling to turn these go-karts. They're not used to this much resistance in the wheel. And you can see the difference in the sets of tyres on board. Mayer has a more traditional set of cadet wets on the kart, and Saxhill with a bigger set of what would be a junior or a senior set of wets, but Mayer is making it work. He fires to the inside and grabs the lead here, and he will lead the way at the end of lap number 2. Down the line, Mayer leads from Saxhill in second, Kostecki in third. Now Saxhill looks to the inside again down the straight, but couldn't get there. And they come past the canteen. It's 2 down and 13 to go here in Cadet 9s, brought to you by Just Commodore. Here at the 2021 edition of the King of the Hill, brought to you by Able Finance. Last time across the line, it was 10 laps to go. And what a change things have been throughout this race so far. You just see Joel Blackman. He's struggling in these conditions as he's gone a lap down to the race leaders with a couple of spins and getting caught up a couple of times here. This is another one of those races that can get really dicey as Jake Kostecki fires his way through. Currently running in third. He's on a set of cadet wets here as Blackman pulls it off to the in-grid and calls it a day in this one. It's Connor Mayer leading out from Chase Saxfield in second as they come rocking onto the back straight. All sideways with lap traffic right in front of them is the sketchy moment here. The 22 of young Taj McDonald going a lap down to your race leaders here. The wet weather definitely proves there's a solid learning experience for these youngsters. And you've got to remember, some of these kids are only 7 or 8 years old. As young Chase Saxfield puts a lap on Taj McDonald down at the bus stop. It's Connor Mayer continuing to work his way around the track, and he's had some driver training in the wet. You can see the way he's driving off the bottom of the wheel, letting the kart jack the inside tyre and turn itself into the corner. And it's amazing, all these advancements and the technological advancements in racing and karting, and yet we still use a $5 bucket from Bunnings to cover the airboxes come the time the rain falls. And a lot of people use whatever they can get their hands on if they're not entirely prepared. Just a measure of covering the airbox so the engines don't get a big gut full of water and come to a stop. And the puddles, there is a couple of puddles around the track right now. Nothing like the likes we've seen before here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, but it's enough if you come into a bit of trouble as we pick up some shots here. Jake Kostecki working his way around the track at the moment. Young Jay he's had a relatively quiet weekend, has Jay, but it's proving quietly successful. In third with a 5.5 second advantage over young Bo Casagrande in the fourth spot. But at the moment, Connor Mayer out front in dominant form like we've seen from him before. He's not had it all his way this weekend though, with a strong challenge coming from Chase Saxfield, and I'm looking forward to seeing these two go out and do battle at the upcoming WA Kart Championship in 5 weekends' time, right here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be broadcasting live on 4Star Media once again all weekend long with myself and the good mate J-Mac on the mic, bringing you all the action to crown the 2021 West Australian Kart Champions. There's going to be a whole bunch of blue plates up for grabs in what is the premier kart racing weekend here in Western Australia. Oh, that looked dicey coming on the main straightaway. That was Chase Saxfield and Jake Kostecki both firing through some lap traffic, as Chase is falling back into the clutches of Jay, actually. So Jay's been on a mission lately. Last time across, the lap times didn't really show it, but Chase has dropped right back into the clutches of Jay of late. The showing is 0.8 of a second between them, although Chase was faster on the last lap. This might get dicey for second and third here if young Jay can find a bit more speed and drive that little Tony kart right up onto the back of the KF kart of young Chase Saxfield in second. It was only recently Chase has made the step over to the KF kart. Early days he was running around in a Ricardo kart, but recently made the decision to switch over, and then they brought Adam Levi into the team. And Adam's certainly one of those blokes in West Australian karting right now that knows how to win races and knows how to extract the most out of these young kids. Joining a growing sector of driver coaching here in Western Australia, but it is on for these two. Look at Jay. He is driving right up onto the back of young Chase here for second. And our podium battle is starting to really take shape. Neither of them getting close to Connor Mayer out front. 4.4 seconds the gap between them, and very different choices in driving lines here. Saxfield doing the traditional dry line, or sorry, wet weather line, running it right out to the white outside of the corners. But Kostecki driving the racing line and staying with him here. He is keeping that kart hooked up while still driving it on the racing line. Meanwhile, Connor Mayer out front, 45.7, a new hot lap of the race for Connor, while he continues to open up that lead out to almost 5 seconds now with 4 laps to go. Last time he crossed the line. This is where Kostecki's especially quick coming out of the dipper and again through the bus stop. Gets a good bit of momentum right on the racing line, whereas Saxfield is running the very wide wet weather line. You can see Kostecki right on him as Saxhill gives up all of that momentum and going the long way around the racetrack. Kostecki just drives up onto him, but it looks like Chase is quicker in the first half of the lap as they come down the line here. 3 to go this time by as they come up to put a lap on 5th place. Young Levi Reffel making his step into the BRM kart. Oh, that's getting checked up there for Chase, and that's going to bring them both up together. Kostecki on the inside of Reffel. Whoa, that's a bit scary. There's another BRM kart right there in the way, right at a really inopportune moment. As we follow Connor Mayer in the 43 flat-out karts machine, leading the way down the line. It's 2 laps remaining for this young superstar of West Australian karting. Look at him leaning in the kart, working the wheel. As he continues onwards, last lap by was a 46.7. He's actually, last lap by, he was slower than the 2 behind him, but he still maintains a 3.7 second advantage. Just has to hang on to it in the closing stages here. As he runs it nice and wide, the rain coming down a bit harder now as it occupies all of our vision here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, and it's going to make things even more slippery out on track. And there's so much of the psychological effect. The track moisture or the grip level might not change, but the rainfall coming onto your visor changes the way you drive it. As Mayer makes his way onto the main straightaway, the last lap board is out. 1 to go here. He looks over his shoulder and instinctively steers the kart to the middle before setting himself to go through turn 1. You can see Saxhill flashing across the screen behind him on the exit of turn 1. It was 3.7 seconds the gap as they came across the line. Connor Mayer on a mission on this final lap here to pick up the win. He just uses a bit of the rumble strip on the exit of the dipper, making his way up onto the back of Taj McDonald and young Michael White as they exit the bus stop for the final time. Well, they'll get an extra lap though, as they'll sneak through on there to start their final lap. As Connor Mayer brings it around, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Connor Mayer takes a win here in Cadet 9 in the rain at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Chase Saxhill comes home in 2nd, and Jake Kostecki will bring it down to the line for 3rd. There's a look at the results with your top 3 done and dusted as the rain continues to fall here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Bo Casagrande and Levi Reffel home in 4th and 5th. Annika Hurd will come across the line to finish up P6 in a moment from Taj McDonald in the 7th spot. Michael White in the 8, Ryan Johnson in 9, and Declan Arambesic rounding out your 10 finishing drivers here in Cadet 9s, brought to you by Just Commodore here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club.
The Just Commodores Cadet 9s division has been run and done. Connor Mayer, congratulations. You are the champion. Job well done, mate. Who would you like to shout out to?
Massive thanks to Flat Out Karts, Sam and Greg for all the support. Without them, I definitely wouldn't be on the top spot today. My mum and dad for being there supporting me. The Casa Grandes for helping out with the cart. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome stuff. It was great to see such an awesome environment for these kids out here in the outgrid. Job well done, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We are on once again, and it's time to go dancing with the big boys. Tag 125 Heavy, brought to you by Kartmart. Out on track and getting lined up, ready to go. This is going to be a race for the ages. We've got some of the most decorated drivers still racing in Western Australia in this class here to this weekend. With Kip Foster and Simon Gwilliam lining up on the front row. It won't be a start this time by. They'll throw their hands up and roll around again on the second row. It looks like we've got Ryan Barron and Kurt Kostecki both lining up there as Jason Betts doing his best to slide the cart around and get the tyres up to temp. Actually spun himself on the front straight. You can see him flashing across the bottom of your screen there. He's going to have to do it, I think, from the rear. And he will have the biggest job of all to try and do that from the rear. And I think he was due to start on the second row of the grid. So that is a huge loss there for Betsy. And I think the field are going to roll around again before they get to go. No, they're lights out and racing. They're going to leave Betsy behind, and he is going to be spewing from way back in the pack. But meanwhile, Simon Gwilliam dashing between the raindrops. There's a pole in the way of our camera there as he tries to find his way up into the chicane. Kip Foster goes to the second spot, and they're all bouncing in the seat, trying to get the carts off the corner because the rain is well and truly coming down here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. And Kip Foster slotting into that second spot. Look at them all dicing to try and find a clean piece of air so don't get pummeled in the face with all the spray. Ryan Barron in third. Kurt Kostecki in the fourth spot here. I think it's Kieran Ellis in P5 as Guy Webster gets dropped to the back of the pack at the exit of the bus stop. We'll check them off as they come across the line. William, Foster, Barron, Kostecki, Ellis, Cochran, Thompson, Deckers, Thomas, and Brad Fitch is your running order as they all come down the line. We'll pick up Simon Gwilliam on the brakes into the bus stop. Foster trying to close up the gap and go with him here. It's touch and go, how hard you can push early stages while you're just figuring out where the grip is and isn't on this racetrack. And you see these guys, they're not tiptoeing around though. They are going hard at it, and they're still using a very conventional set of racing lines. Still the fast way to get around the track, and it's not torrential downpour, it's just very, very damp out there on track. As William leads out from Foster. Out of the dipper, Ryan Barron from Perth Mobile Physiotherapy into the third spot. Of course, they were your sponsors for this weekend, handing out $100 to each of the fastest qualifiers across all 11 classes. Kurt Kostecki back there in the fourth spot. Kieran Ellis slip sliding his way around in P5. As it looks like Richard Deckers has moved up into the sixth spot. You can see the second of the KF carts with a much bigger figure in it. It's got to be Deckers over Raymond Cochran. And then Taylor Thomas further behind here. So far, things seeming rather processional. People getting into track position and staying where they are. It's Taylor Thomas sliding across the racetrack, trying to hang on to that spot for the seventh spot over Raymond Cochran. He slides it. Oh, he's overcooked it at the bus stop. And he's jumping in the seat to try and get some drive off the corner. Tags up the side of Jay Bunton, who was last year's King of the Hill for the Run 25 restricted medium class. And Thomas paying the price for that mistake down at the bus stop. Behind them, they've got the hyper carts of Brad Fitch and Lloyd Billick, running 11th and 14th on the road right now. The first venture into the wet weather with a brand new kart can be a very scary one, and I'm sure they'll take some really valuable learning experiences from this race to learn what they can do better next time to make these karts perform better in the wet. As we check out this fantastic mid-pack scramble, at the head of that pack is Jay Bunton. We're talking Jay down in 9th place. Bunton over Taylor Thomas, Brad Fitch, Adrian Fogliani over Jared Bishop and Lloyd Billick. Then back to Nathan Metten, Jaden Keeville, Craig Ryan, the big horse. We usually see him in 125 restricted Masters over Guy Webster and J10 Brooker. From Troy Stones Clark, Ian Shaw, John Hill and Jason Betts down the order. And we've lost a few out of contention in our bumper 29 kart field here as your leaders continue to break away over the rest of them. So Simon Gwilliam continues to lead the way here over Kip Foster in second. Ryan Barron back there in third. Sometimes racing in the wet can be considered somewhat boring, but it takes a lot of talent to stay on top of the kart and keep it going in these ever-degrading conditions. It seems to be going from bad to worse out there as the rain continues. The spray is getting taller and longer. And man, oh man, we've still got some racing to go. We are just about to go halfway through the finals here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club with plenty more racing to go here. We follow Kurt Kostecki sliding his way through turn one. He's currently holding on to the 4th spot, leading out from Kieran Ellis behind him in P5 as they try and fight for traction around Hurricane Go-Kart Club, and we're about to hit the halfway point in the final here for Tag 125 Heavy, brought to you by Kartmart. Letting the race roll on for a few laps here as the position's not changing out front, but Simon Gwillim continuing to make the most of the wet weather conditions. Kip Foster staying with him in second, and they're lapping pretty close on pace. Last time across 42.1 for Gwilym, or 42.2 for Foster. As they rock and rolled across the line. With 3 to go, this time down the line for Simon Gwilym in a wet race here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. We've had some of the best races in WA karting history go down in the wet here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. The famed Daniel Elliott winning the pre-final at the 2002 WA Kart Championships in Formula Australia Light, throttling the kart with his thumb after he broke a throttle cable in the formation laps. Probably one of the most famed races, and I remember it was Brad Cross or Brian Leclerc. I think it was Brad Cross calling the action that weekend. And some amazing racing in the pouring rain for the state championships. And that's the only state championships I ever came to here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, but we'll be back in 5 weeks' time for the 2021 edition of the WA Kart Championships. And this man looking to defend his blue plate, probably going to be challenged the most by the man, the namesake of the kart he drives, Kip Foster. Currently sitting behind him. We've got a massive gap back to Ryan Barron. Barron just cannot maintain pace. He is a second a lap off the leaders right now. And in fact, he's losing a little bit of time to Kurt Kostecki and Kieran Ellis. That have been putting in some decent laps of late, but it has a margin as the last lap board comes out. 1 to go here for Simon Gwilym and Kip Foster down the line. And he'll be relieved because Simon has to go back, wring the gloves out, try and drain the water out of the boots and do it all again in KZ2 coming up for the 25-lap final later tonight. So Gwilym isn't even done for the day yet, but is on his way to converting a solid day of racing here. Your current race leader, leading all the way here. Took pole this morning, earned himself $100. Said he's been untouchable in the heats. Kip Foster couldn't even towel him up. And down the line, the checkered flag will fly. Simon Gwilym grabs the win here in Tag 125 Heavy, brought to you by Kartmart. Kip Foster home in second. And it looks like trouble for Ryan Barron. And that will put Kurt Kostecki on the podium here. Barron falling off in the closing stages of the race. Shea Thompson will go P4, Kieran Ellis P5 from Richard Deckers and Raymond Cochran 6 and 7. Lloyd Billick and Jared Bishop rounding out your top 10 will be Adrian Fogliani over Nathan Medham, Taylor Thomas, Guy Webster, Craig Ryan and Jaden Keeville, and J10 Brooker in short, and John Hill, your remaining finishing drivers here. That was Tag 125 Heavy for the King of the Hill. This class brought to you by Kartmart here for 2021. Of course, a big thank you to Able Finance, bringing us the King of the Hill for 2021 at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, celebrating 60 years here in Wundowie.
Your Kart Tag Heavy Finals winner, Simon Gulliam. Congratulations once again. A victory to round it all off. Tough conditions. I'm sure you're steaming it up in there, but you've got to go and, as Chris said, ring out the gloves, dry off the boots, get ready for a 25-lap final.
Yeah, got the KZ still, but no, that was absolutely awesome. Stoked to lead from start to finish. I looked behind a couple of times. I thought Kip was a bit closer, so I had to keep pushing, try not to make a mistake. But when there was about 2 to go, I knew I was going to be right. So yeah, stoked.
How'd the car perform out there?
Yeah, good. I was probably a bit advantaged. I just had a wet race in KZ, so I sort of got a feel for tyre pressures and where the grip was. So I got the kart pretty good then.
What's a track like this actually like to drive out there in these sorts of conditions? Standing water an issue? Do you have any problems with traction?
Yeah, there's a couple of puddles. You don't want to hit them, so just avoid those. Into turn 2, there's one there. Apart from that, these wet tyres are really soft and really grippy, so you can pretty much drive it as a slick, just be slower, that's all.
Well, anyone you want to shout out to before we send you off for your KZ final?
Firstly, Kip, thanks for the engine and the kart. Grassy and the boys, Dave and Alex, who've been crewing for me all weekend. Redline, my sponsor, and the family, thanks.
Awesome stuff. Simon Gulliam, your winner in the Tag Heavies.
Thank you.
Mate, a tough race for all out there, and it's going to be a tough one again. WA Open Performance getting sorted to go out and racing for their 15-lap final in just a moment time. Of course, WA Open Performance proudly brought to you by Pacific Safety Wear as they get ready to go racing. Open Performance is that kind of category where anything goes. As long as it runs and it has some sort of karting relevance, you can find it with some sort of weight bracket that it fits in to make sure that the class is somewhat equal. You can even come and race just a regular old 100cc, as did Courtney Goff for some time as a 100cc competitor in open class before she went on to run the twin and make a string of WA state title wins. From Albany to Bunbury and then to Esperance. 3 years in a row, Courtney Goff took out the WA title in a set of frantic races that always ended up with Goffy crying on the in-grid. That's what Open Performance is all about. It's about putting down the horsepower and hanging on. And Blake Preston knows all about that because he has a bit of a reputation for just hanging off the back of it and steering it around. But with the wet weather, horsepower, it kind of no longer becomes an issue. You got too much of it, so you got to figure out how to use it properly without buzzing the tyres off it and spinning yourself off the track. And a field of twin-engine karts, with the exception of Jason Gaykhorst. And Gaykhorst running in the Iame-powered, I think it's a Super X30 for Jason, as he was due to run KZ2, but unfortunately they found a crack in the chassis and could no longer get that kart going in KZ2, so they brought out the old kart. And he'll go racing in this field. So Blake Preston on the pole with Matt Chambers on the outside front row. 14-year-old Charlotte Campbell having a run here on the second row of the grid with Greg Campbell with her as well as the lights go out, and it wasn't quite an all-tidy start. Preston is going to go sliding off the exit at turn 1 here. Chambers getting all sorts of sideways, trying to put the power down. And Campbell trying to go with him at the moment. Her dad, Gregory, behind in the 4 spot as we got a kart backwards in the chicane as we descend into darkness. But the water sticks around. We are set for a set of remaining wet weather races in the night here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Preston getting away from Matt Chambers at the moment, and Charlotte Campbell back there in third. Gregory Campbell steering the now ex-Dave Harris number 3 machine right on her heels as well as they come around onto the main straightaway. Brad Smith back there in the 5 spot. Chris Elliott not taking part in this one, deciding he would rather sit back and enjoy a nice cold beverage instead of being out on track and just rolling around to get wet. Andrew Lawrence in the 6 spot. Jason Gaykhorst in the 7 from Jordan Montgomery, your remaining running order. As we follow this battle here with Matt Chambers, Charlotte Campbell and Greg Campbell, her dad, putting the pressure on here. right behind them. They have got Brad Smith with them as well. But it's Blake Preston leading the way down the line here as Smith looks to the inside of Greg Campbell down the straight. Couldn't draw up alongside as he's now given the what for to his daughter, and he looks to the inside of the chicanes, but she shuts the door in his face. I love this father and daughter battle. Oh, Greg almost swaps ends on himself on the exit of the chicane. Charlotte's not going to make it easy for him, wanting to be the first and only one to be on the podium here today, but she lets him go by, under brakes at the bus stop now, gasses it up on the exit, and Greg Campbell will go through to third. Just about crossing over the halfway point here in your WA Open Performance Final. Brought to you by Pacific Safety Wear. Not much to report on as far as hard hour racing. These guys are doing their best just to try and stay on the track in what is fairly processional out on track here. Blake Preston well and truly out front, 7.2 seconds clear from Matthew Chambers, who's hanging on to second ahead of Greg Campbell in third. Brad Smith right behind in fourth. Charlotte Campbell's dropped off into P5 now, with Jason Gaykhorst in the sixth spot, ahead of Jordan Montgomery and Andrew Lawrence. Still circulating seventh and eighth on the road here in WA Open Performance. Greg Campbell has a big look up the inside of Matt Chambers. They're going to go at it here. It's finally coming to a head, and Campbell drops a wheel off the road, and through goes Brad Smith, saying thank you very much. I'll take that from both of you. That puts him up to second now. Chambers will drop to the third spot. Campbell on the outside looking in. back there in P4. Bogs it down at the bus stop, and we'll have to reset and go for it again here. Five laps to go for Blake Preston as he crossed the line this time by. We are watching on as Brad Smith. We might have thought he got lucky on the track position, but he picked his moment and he's jumped to the second spot and he's holding out the gap over Matt Chambers and Greg Campbell right now. So Smith going through for second and hanging on to it as they circulate onto the back straightaway. Matt Chambers back there in the third spot at the moment. Just dropping off a little bit towards the end of this one. It's a long and grueling race in the wet here for WA Open Performance. And certainly a class where you'd think about, do I really want to go racing in the wet for 15 laps with these karts? Because they are hard work to stay on the track, even in the dry. The wet weather just proving that much more difficult to maintain some pace and keep the traction up. As they go 4 laps to go last time across the line. Two laps to go as Blake Preston brings it across the line. He's stretching out. The clock is still going to tell us the gap back to second. It sits at over 10 seconds. Back to Brad Smith in second here, sideways through turn 1. Matt Chambers and Greg Campbell both now struggling in the wet conditions. There's something flapping around. I think it's a chain guard off the back of Brad Smith's kart. As you can see, the rain just continuing to come down here. Greg Campbell just fiddling with the visor a little bit on the back straight, taking the opportunity to adjust a little bit to get some airflow, stop it from fogging up inside the helmet. As the last lap board is out now, Preston goes through to start his final lap. Brad Smith coming down the line. The second place driver down the line to start his final lap of the circuit here from Chambers and Campbell. Jason Gaycourse goes through for P5. Charlotte just struggling in the wet conditions here. She's dropped down to the 6th spot now, in front of Jordan Montgomery and Andrew Lawrence. As we pick up Blake Preston, dragging it down the line. Preston will hit the line to win. Brad Smith will bring it around the final couple of corners. And Smith will run it down the line for second here on the podium in WA Open Performance. Matthew Chambers will drag it down for third here. Greg Campbell in fourth. Jason Gaycourse will bring it around to go P5 on the road here from Charlotte Campbell in 6th. And Jordan Montgomery in 7th. Andrew Lawrence rounding out your 8 kart field.
Congratulations, mate. Pacific Safety, where WA Open has been run and done. The final sees you, Blakey, all the way to the top step. Congratulations, mate.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, it's been a great day. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't on our side, but, you know, I have to put out a huge thanks to my dad who's come up today. He's quite ill at the moment, so it was a big struggle for him to get out here today. So it's really proud, and this one was definitely for him for this weekend. Obviously, I'd like to thank my pop that's come out. He's helped me all day. My mate Jay, who's been throwing spanners while my dad can't. So I'd like to thank Swiss Atlas Australia, Gavin Kennedy. I'd like to thank GFR Engines in the UK, Tillotson, Carburettors, and just all the officials and everyone that's come up today to make today possible. Without everyone, we couldn't do this.
Congratulations, mate. Job well done.
Thank you very much.
Chris, back to you.
Mate, it's tough conditions out there, that's for sure, and there's a whole bunch of KA3 Junior drivers who are about to learn exactly that. 20 of them to be exact here, as we get some great scenes of the out grid getting in formation, ready for the next one to join us on track in Tag 125 Restricted Light, getting ready to crown a king or queen of the hill for 2021. But it's KA3 Junior, brought to you by Pacific Safety Wear, lining up and getting ready to go racing. And it's going to be Noah Lyle lining up on the front row with Robert West on the outside of the front row here. From Zane Rhodes and Joshua Byrne on the second row of the grid. Watch a light to go out and send us racing. No light this time. We will not go racing. Behind them, we've got stacking up, and it looks like it is the KF of, trying to read the number. Hard work. It's a KF kart nonetheless, alongside Jack Webster, starting on the third row of the grid. That's a KF of young Aiden Deckers alongside Webster. Then it's Guest alongside, well, it looks like Nicholas Smith in there. And a couple of quick drivers, quick contenders in this field, deeper in the field than you would think they should be. It's going to be a tough one for them to push their way through. Nash Ferraro and James McCucci-Allen, two names that come to mind as the lights go out and we go racing. Looking them down into turn one. Lyle will lead the field, but West will try and squeak through here. They're going to go almost 3 wide past the canteen, and it's Lyle going to be leading. Pandemonium up at the chicane, everyone trying to gather it up and stop at the apex here. Zane Rhodes gets through to second somehow. Amazing piece of driving from young Zane. He will go through to the 2 spot. Robert West down the inside of Deckers down at the bus stop. Joshua Burns struggling at the moment. He's going to go side by side with West as they go through the right-handers. Everyone else scampering around, struggling for traction. But Noah Lyle checks over his shoulder on Zane Rhodes behind him as they click off the line on lap number 1 here. Rhodes into the 2nd spot, and it looks like Aiden Deckers in the 3rd now. Joshua Byrne back there in P4, Robert West in P5, as they all struggle to come to terms with the conditions here. Catching James McCucci-Allen, he's tapping on the helmet as he goes past Gabriel Balanca, sending the signal, let's use our brains and drive forward. He's found himself in a pretty awkward position of being a lot further down the grid than he would want to be, and trying to drive his way forward to salvage something from this race here, as Zane Rhodes sets a hot lap of the race here, 42.776 for Zane. Noah Lyle, though, in control out front. Rhodes in 2nd. Trying to catch him and put the pressure on. Back to this battle here, James McCucci-Allen and Robert West. West, who started on the first couple of rows of the grid, has dropped off now. He's down in the 6th spot. Just watching Dave Balanca get to work up the inside, and all sorts of opposite lock on the exit of the bus stop. Getting one done on Kay Davey here as they come onto the main straightaway. Collecting off the first few laps of this one, and everyone's starting to feel out how much grip they've got underneath them and what they can do with the go-kart. Meanwhile, Noah Lyle out front will watch on this battle as Robert West under pressure from Balanca now. Behind them, Davey and Sebastian Guest here, all the way down in the 11th spot. Dylan Guest has come a cropper in the early stages here. He dropped down after he's been one of the drivers to beat in the heat races. He was struggling in this one. And now Gabriel Balanca finds himself struggling as he gets dropped off from this battle pack, and he goes to the back of that one, back to the inside. They are racing like it's the final lap for a chance. Meanwhile, they're just letting everyone around them get away with the race lead here. This kind of racing in KA3 Junior, very scrappy. That means that if you get caught into it, you're not really going to have a chance to catch the guys further up the road if you get caught up in it for too long here. You pick up your race leaders. It's Noah Lyle and Zane Rhodes, first and second on the road right now as they come out of the bus stop. Putting to work here, Aiden Deckers having a good run here in third. Joshua Byrne in fourth. There's Alex Stefanovic down in P5. He's the fastest on track last time across. Alec put in the hot lap of the race, 41.7 for Stefa. But Lyle and Rhodes leading things out as they come down into the chicanes and onto the back straightaway. Down into the dipper they go. Behind them, Deckers and Byrne into the dipper. They're fighting over third and fourth. Behind them, Stefanovic and Ferraro, fifth and sixth at the moment. So a couple of battle packs going on here, fighting for their respective positions. One mistake and getting caught up on each other, and that could really bring them all together into one 6-cart field. It'd be great to have them all fighting it out here as Nash Ferraro gets to work in the number 16 BRM cart, trying to push his way up the grid after starting deep in the field. It's Noah Lyle out front, making the most of a front row start here to lead the way in the wet. Zane Rhodes just absolutely relentlessly hanging on to him right now, trying to stay with him as much as he can as they push on down through the infield into the bus stop again. See Lyle struggling to get the cart turned in there. Understeer breeds oversteer, which breeds slow. And now Zane Rhodes is right on his rear bumper. Almost shows him a wheel as they come onto the main straightaway. He's hot on his heels. Is young Zane looking to try and emulate what his sister has already managed to do here, picking up a win in the wet for the Rhodes family. They come onto the back straight. Zane just needs another mistake like that from Noah, and he'll be in with a shot of making it happen here. Pushing the envelope right behind the number 4 flat-out carts and a Rise Racing entry. Catch Noah making his way through. I think he's stepped away from what he was running, the Paralon, for a while with the red chassis rails. Stepped into, I believe, a wheel power cart for Noah Lyle here. Still says a Paralon on his entry sheet as they come down the line. The telltale of a Paralon cart, red chassis rails. They're certainly not red as they head up into the canteen chicane here. Zane Rhodes is absolutely glued to him at the moment on the back straight, just trying to put the pressure on. We're 2.5 seconds clear of Aiden Deckers back there in third spot here, as Alex Stefanovic has moved up into P4. Josh Byrne dropping off into the 5 spot now. Nash Ferraro still in 6 from James McCucci-Allen in 7. But it's these two fighting it out for the race lead as they make their way out of the right-handers and wrapping around onto the main straightaway. Behind them, Deckers and Stefanovic from Byrne and Ferraro. You can see them all sliding across onto the racetrack behind. This is 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th on the road at the moment. Aiden Deckers has really stepped into the picture in the final. Having a very quiet Saturday during the heat races so far. But there's only one race that really matters today, and that's this one. And they've all had to bolt on a set of wets for it, no matter whether they wanted to or not. But the battle out front is red hot. Zane Rhodes staying in touch with Noah Lyle right now. Trying to put the pressure on. As you can see, them both very different driving styles. Noah is really aggressive on the steering and leaning in the cart, trying to get it to turn in. Meanwhile, Zane is just letting the cart do the work, really. Pointing the front tyres where they need to go and not trying to overdrive the front end of the cart. You look at it here, look how much lock Noah has on the wheel. It must be said, Zane was matching him right there, but through these tighter corners, it really looks like Zane is a bit more collected on the wheel and driving maybe a little bit smoother. How aggressive he's turning into the bus stop there is Noah, trying to get that thing turned in. You can see he washes wide of the apex, and this is where Zane has a run. Zane Rhodes to the inside to try and grab the lead, and he gets it done. He makes the most of Noah Lyle's mistake there, just running wide of the apex. But now Noah looks to the inside again. Can Zane go all the way around the outside? Noah's going to try and hang him out to dry, and he checks back in behind him. Oh, Zane gives him a bit of a white fight through the chicane, says, hello, mate, I'm still here. As they rocket down into the dipper. It was 4 laps to go last time across the line, and momentarily Zane Rhodes had the lead for about 6 whole seconds. Rhodes had this one out front as he's wide into the entry of the bus stop now, almost ran himself off the road. They are giving it absolutely everything. Nothing left in reserve for these two, and they are going to be spent by the time they come back in from this 15-lap final here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. KA3 Junior, brought to you by Pacific Safety Wear. This time it's Zane Rhodes looking at the inside, and he slides across the racetrack. Checks up in front, and now he goes across the gravel, and he's on the inside. Oh, they're going to get together. There goes Zane Rhodes. Oh, dear. Zane Rhodes caught up on the inside of Noah Lyle, and he is not going anywhere. He will be stuck in the dirt, and he will be hurting after that one. Zane Rhodes is out. That will elevate Aiden Deckers into second. Alex Stefanovic will move up into third now, and this young man, Noah Lyle, will go unopposed out front. As Lyle leads away now by a 4-second margin over Alex Stefanovic. You can see Rhodes walking back across the track there, and a heartbreaking way to wrap up this race. And he's even signaling to Noah Lyle. So there's a bit of disagreement between their attitudes on what happened to that corner, I'm sure. No two drivers will ever agree in an incident like that, as Noah Lyle makes his way around the final couple of corners, and he will pick up the last lap board. 1 to go here for Noah Lyle down the line. Alex Stefanovic moving up into second. Got the move done and is charging forward. Stefa really coming into his own in the wet here. Deckers in the third spot, but it's all about Noah Lyle here. He fought hard with Zane Rhodes, but ultimately ended in the DNF for Zane here in the final as he throws the number 4 machine into the bus stop for the final time here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Bringing it around out of the tight stuff and onto the main straightaway. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Noah Lyle picks up the win here in KA3 Junior. Brought to you by Pacific Safety Wear here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Alex Stefanovic makes a great run to the podium in second. And Aiden Deckers rounds out your podium in third. Nash Ferraro in fourth, and Joshua Byrne rounding out your top 5. Over Cade Davey in 6, James McCooch-Allen in 7, Sebastian Guest in 8. Good run there from Crystal McClurg to go P9. As she brings it around the final couple of corners. It'll be Robert West actually going P9. Crystal McClurg losing out at the end there. She will come home P10 from Ethan Traeger. Bringing it down the line in the 11th spot. Nicholas Smith in 12, and Riley Watkins rounding out your 13 finishing drivers. 7 drivers failing the finish here in your KA3 Junior final at Hurricane Go-Kart Club.
The Pacific Safety Wear KA3 Junior Champion for King of the Hill 2021, Noah Lyle. Congratulations, mate. Some really tight stuff at the back end of that race there with Young Rhodes. How was it all?
Yeah, it was good racing. Shame at the end, but it's just the wet. It's just how it ends up.
Mate, some tough conditions. How'd the kart hold up?
Kart was really good. Stayed in the operating window for the whole race, which was really good. We definitely learned a lot about the kart this weekend. It's going really well so far.
Mate, do you reckon you could go out and do another stint in those sort of conditions, or you reckon your day's done?
Probably done for the night.
Anyone you want to shout out to?
Flat Out Karts and Eli for helping me out this weekend.
Well, you heard it here. Our KA3 Junior champ, Noah Lyle.
Well, we continue to work our way through the classes here at the 2021 King of the Hill at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, proudly brought to you by Able Finance. It's time for Tag 125 Restricted Light, brought to you by Leasing Services of WA. This is a King of the Hill class, and this on screen is a list of the past winners across all the years. The first one taken out by Trevor Johnson, and the most recent taken out for the third time in his career by Thomas Boucher. And look who's starting on pole in an attempt to make it the fourth time. And once again, going back-to-back, King of the Hill champion will be Thomas Boucher once again here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. 2018 and 2019, two stellar years taken out by both Ryan Nicholson and the second Queen of the Hill of all time, Brooke Miller, in 2019. We could have a new winner tonight. We could be adding an extra name to this list and to the perpetual trophies. This is the King of the Hill. And who will get to wear the inflatable crown tonight here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club, we'll find out in 15 very wet laps time. Great shots looking out to the west here over Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Right in the middle where that big checkered flag tower is where we sit right now, staying dry and warm out of the weather out here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. At least I am. J-Mac has to venture down there into the rain every race to talk to the winners. But it's Tom Boucher starting on the front row. Alongside him will be young Jacob Potts for the Go Fast left turn early man. And we join them with Lincoln Drew and Sebastian Fiorenza on the second row of the grid. And it looks like it's Michael Clark and Tegan Minton lining up on the third row of the grid here. Cassie Nicholson will be charging hard in this one as well. Cassie a couple of rows further behind as we bring the field around. Nikita Morozov splits them as well, as does Cosimo Vosa, as they go down the line, and no lights out start this time across. We are set to go, bringing this in. The cut-through lights ablaze. J-Mac ready for a big King of the Hill race, mate.
This is going to be absolutely awesome to watch, but I have to ask, Chris, what's the visibility like down in the back end of the track?
It would be pretty poor. There is a lighting tower down there, which is good, because that wasn't up last night for practice, and it was pretty dark down there. But down into the dipper, visibility is pretty bad. You can see just enough to get the job done. We do mandate clear visors be used, but in the spray, it's less than half of what you usually get at night. As they bring it down the line, lights out and going racing this time by. And the top four breakaway already. Tom Boucher sliding across the racetrack. Can't get the race lead early. Oh, there's a couple of spinners further behind, and there's more than one. Many of them caught up here.
Michael Clark, one of those in the 77. He's going to be spewing about that one.
Yeah, he was hurting there, but it's Tom Boucher who couldn't quite convert the pole start to jumping to the lead early on, as Jacob Potts out front at the moment from Sebastian Fiorenza, probably the only, or one of the only Rotax drivers at the pointy end of this field.
We're waiting for their first lap in anger to be completed here, and already you can see Boucher off to a great lead so far, but this is a long one. 15 laps the distance. The number 81, Potts actually out in front of Fiorenza. Boucher dropping back to third place with Minton in fourth, and Morozov rounding out your top five.
It's been a long time coming for Jacob Potts. He started off in karts not really too long ago, but coming from the Eastern Goldfield Kart Club and running, of course, what we see a lot of is speed car racing around Western Australia and especially down at Perth Motorplex, but he's been getting quicker and quicker behind the wheel of a kart. Of recent, of course, he's been right at the pointy end of the field, out in the southern zone, or southeastern zone, down in Esperance, and they did a double header a couple of weekends ago down there. But man, he's finding his form in the wet weather conditions here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. He leads from Fiorenza in second, and the man who's trying to go back-to-back for the second time, back there in third, is Tom Boucher.
He's going to have a tough ask to get onto the back of Fiorenza, who's just PB'd in this early stage of the race. A 42.95, the gap between Fiorenza back to Boucher in P3, currently 1.13 seconds.
Now, I'm going to jump in and probably overstep my knowledge base here, but the differences between the engines, the X30s and the Rotax, in dry conditions is on a fair amount of parity. They give the Rotaxes a weight penalty, but the way in which each of the engines drive is really different. The Rotaxes, if you floor the throttle too early, they actually gag up. So you have to drive them right on the edge of the power band, and in the wet, you can just floor it a little harder and gag them up to prevent them spinning the tyres. But the X30s, if you're not on the noise, you're losing out.
I think there's going to be a bunch of messages dropping into your DMs right about now. In fact, I can see the first few of them coming out.
Telling me how wrong I am.
That's it. We have 12 laps to go in this tag restricted light final here at King of the Hill.
125 Restricted Light, proudly brought to you by Leasing Services of WA for this weekend here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. You can see your top three coming out of the bus stop at the moment, but back there in fourth is Tegan Minton. Running for Simon Minton Motorsport in this all-pink SMM pink machine. She's holding on over Nikita Morozov. He's back there in the 5 spot. Brock Durden back there in 6, but Lincoln Drew and Cassie Nicholson are nowhere to be seen, down in 7th and 8th in the wet conditions here.
We see Boucher with purple against his name. You'll see it on the left-hand side of your screen if you are watching on the 4Style Media live stream. Welcome. If you are online, drop us a comment. Let us know how you've enjoyed your King of the Hill experience. But our top three have well and truly checked out. They are less than 2 seconds apart from first to third. Then it's a big gap back to Minton in fourth, with Morozov running in the 5 spot.
And we've seen this in years gone by, the top three breaking away in the final. It seems to be something about these King of the Hill races that the top three get away, and then they get into a big old argument right at the end of the race to decide who really wants it more. But stranger things have happened here at the King of the Hill. There's been a couple of really famous drives in the last few laps and the dying laps of this race in years gone by. So anything can still happen. We still have 10 laps to go, J-Mac.
There's a great 4-kart battle pack happening. I can see from the number 35, Lewis Rossi, running in the 11th spot, just outside of the top 10. But right back to about 15th place, Samantha Lincoln will bookend that 4-kart battle pack. So we see shots of the 69 up on screen.
There's Reese Austin just jumping out of the way of your race leaders. Fiorenza has taken the opportunity to close their gap. You can see he's so calm and collected. Fiorenza actually keeps himself really level-headed. He's a smart young kid. He carefully wipes the water off the visor and makes sure that he is doing everything he needs to try and stay out of the spray, for one, because the closer he gets to the back of Potts, the worse that is going to get.
Interesting to note that at some points in this track, especially at the end of the start-finish line, now obviously you don't want to be looking away from where you're going, but if you turn your head, you can actually just use the speed to wipe some of that water off and at least clear a bit of space on that visor.
As the 46 machine just doing her best to get out of the way of the race leaders. She caught up Sebastian Fiorenza, so that's a little gift going the way of Jacob Potts here as he finds his way past one of the lap carts without getting impeded as much as Sebastian did when they came up onto the back of Samantha there. Another one jumping out of the way as Thomas Boucher comes through. He probably got the better run of the three in that one.
So, lap times, the best so far, a 42.70 from Fiorenza in the 71 car.
Going to pick up your leaders coming out of the dipper. The run down towards the bus stop. We're not even halfway through this one. And Fiorenza is starting to claw back some track position again onto the back of Jacob Potts, your race leader. The 81 Pottsy in an OTK sliding his way. You see that all the way out to the rumble strip of the right-handers.
And this is it. All bets are off. They don't have to run another heat after this. All they have to do is make these tyres last to the end of the race, so they can really leave nothing on the table. And you can see Fiorenza really moving up onto the back of Potts.
He's up on the wheel under power, and trying to get that kart squared off on the exit. You can see he's actually pointing it, not fully straight on the exit of the corner, but trying to maximize his straight line off the exit of the corner to make sure he is putting power down in a straight line and not trying to overload the tyre as he grabs a bit of the curb and see him working the wheel on the exit, just trying to keep it squared up.
These curbs here at the Hurricane Go-Kart Club are just so aggressive, and especially in these wet conditions, you don't want to get hung up on them and really risk your race here in these dying stages of the night. Big look over the shoulder for Fiorenza to see just how far he's got back to Bauscher, Chris.
They both got very lucky getting through the lap traffic there, and they both gained an advantage over Tom Bauscher, who is probably at this point starting to get a little bit frustrated as you see how much Potsy gets a slide on the exit of the chicane. He knows Fiorenza is there, and you start to show a bit more aggression when you know someone's hot on your heels because they start to get a little scared of wanting to send one up the inside at that point.
These two at the front are locked. We see a 43.015 last time around for Potts. Fiorenza, a 43.09. Absolutely nothing separating them out on track. Through the second to last corner they come.
Well, as it stands, if it's one of these two, we will see a new name on the trophies and on the list of winners in 125 Restricted Light. For the King of the Hill 2021, we are 5 laps to go across the line. Fiorenza is throwing everything at him. Look at the steam coming off that big old Rotax exhaust.
What I'm interested in is the gaggle of lap traffic. I'm not talking 1 or 2 drivers. I'm talking 3 karts all circulating at a slower pace that these guys are onto right now. They're in shot as we speak.
We've seen it already today. The lap traffic playing a major part in the way the race will pan out. As they both, or Potsy looks to the inside and he's going to bounce across the curb. This gives Fiorenza a bit of a berth and he stays on him. One of them's got their hand up. They're still trying to race it out as well. Rossi is probably putting the 35 BRM a little bit in the way, but they both get through and they're still glued together.
The gap only a quarter of a second. It looks so much smaller on your screens and even closer out there as they make their way down in towards the dipper.
You can't really count out Tom Bauscher just yet. I mean, if these two get caught up and start fighting over it, the speed difference you slow down when you're fighting is Fiorenza hard on the brakes into the bus stop. He gets it done, but he bogs it on the exit. He has the inside line, and this is where he gets the benefit. Fiorenza grabs the lead, just as we were saying it, might bring Bauscher into the party for the race lead.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Only 3 laps to go as they tick on over. Big wipe of the visor there for Jacob Potts, relegated to second place, hot on the heels of Fiorenza, but Fiorenza puts on a sudden burst of speed, opens that gap right up.
The Fiorenza family are going to be jumping out of their skin on the sidelines right now. Coming into today, they knew that Sebastian had a bit of a chance as Jacob Potts got caught up there just trying to get around. I think that was Reese Austin going a lap down to them as they come up onto the back of the 46 of Samantha Lincoln again. And now Fiorenza gets through, but Potsy is caught up, and that's going to put Potsy back into the clutches of Tom Bauscher. Sebastian Fiorenza is 2 laps away from wearing that inflatable crown.
You're all about the inflatable crown, Chris Mitchell. This will be our second King of the Hill working together, and this is an incredible way to round out an awesome day of racing. You guys have been here for 2 whole days. Practice yesterday, heats and finals today, and racing under lights to finish us off. Into the dipper comes your race leader, Sebastian Fiorenza.
Looking to pick this up and to be one of the only drivers in the field still backing or putting his weight behind the Rotax power plant. I'm a big fan of the Rotax power plants myself. They were the last of my junior years in karting out here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. But Fiorenza, with the ARC karting team, loves a bit of Rotax horsepower as he puts it down and down the line. The last lap board is out. 1 to go here for the King of the Hill final in 125 Restricted Light.
It is head down and bum up. Fiorenza putting in work as he comes on through the canteen chicane down in towards the dipper. Into the darkness.
Potsy's trying to turn something on in this final lap to see if he can pull off a massive upset. He goes purple on the previous lap of 42.332, but he's 1 second off the back of Fiorenza with just 3 corners to go.
Massive sideways moment there coming off the bus stop, Chris. That's really going to hurt.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be sealed the deal. Sebastian Fiorenza brings it onto the straight. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your King of the Hill 2021, Double fist pump. Sebastian Fiorenza is your king of the hill in Tag 125 Restricted Light. Brought to you by Leasing Services of WA. Jacob Potts gave it everything he could. Only good enough for second tonight. And your outgoing king of the hill champion, Thomas Bauscher, will have to settle for third on the podium here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Tegan Minton home in fourth. And Michael Clark will round out your top five.
Leasing Services WA Tag 125 Restricted Lights winner. Congratulations, Mr. Fiorenza. It's tough out there, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. These conditions, I mean, I love driving in them, but they are a challenge, absolutely. It's very slippery out there.
As the day winds to a close and you've had a massive run of heat races and then this huge final, your tyres are, let's say they're well used, even these wets. How do you sort of approach the dying stages of that race? Do you leave anything on the table in reserve for that final lap, or do you just go for broke?
When I'm in the lead like that, I'm just going for broke. I just try and manage the gap behind, and I'm just going for it, to be honest with you.
We were watching your battle for first and second, but we're also never discounting Bauscher running back in third place. All it takes is one wrong move and someone can snap up the crumbs, can't they?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Thomas is basically the top guy in this class, and yeah, he's a great driver. All the top guys are. It's just a fantastic race, to be honest with you.
Tell me what sort of support it takes to come in and take out this kind of event like you just have.
Mum and Dad. We don't have any sponsors or anything. ARC Rotax engines as well. Adam does a bang-up job. Absolutely. Just everyone that helps out.
Come on in, Mum and Dad. Come on in. Come and wave for everyone. Get in here with your boy because he has just taken out his race here at King of the Hill. Back to you, Chris.
It's a great moment for the Fiorenza family, and they will be keeping memory of that one for a long, long time to come. We move on in Tag 125 Lights Out on Track, brought to you by 79 Kart Sports. And we're getting ready to rock and roll here for 15 laps in the wet and under lights. Who's it going to be here in 125 Light? We'll get them all filtering around. So far today, it's been a Lawton and Sawyer show out front in this class. But when the wet stuff falls from the sky, you can't count out any of the guys lining up a little bit further behind. Gianluca Oriema might be one to watch as well. He's been stormingly quick in that number 10 CRG machine so far today. Flynn Thompson might have something to say in the wet weather conditions as well. The same for Kieran Ellis. Maybe even the old-timer Shane McPherson having something to do out there. As we get the field formed up in the infield. Thomas Lawton is an absolute force. Now, he was pipped at the post by Bree Rhodes in his KA3 entry in a thrilling race in the wet. Do you think that's playing on his mind coming into this one, J-Mac?
No, I think that he's a keen enough character that he's put that behind him and he's now going to look to consolidate. He's got extra track time up his sleeve. He's going to be prepared. He knows what it's like to run in these wet conditions. Let's see how it goes.
Well, let's watch for the lights to go out and send us racing here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Not going to be this time around as he lines up with a Sawyer on the outside of the front row. I am keen to see the form of the likes of Liam Kane. He's always been pretty handy in the wet here. This number 6 KF Kart starting on the second row alongside Flynn Thompson. Then the younger of the two Sawyers, Luke Sawyer, back there on the row 3, will be one to watch as well.
The 79 Kart Sports Tag Light Final about to go down. We roll through the final couple of corners and we'll go full send. And that red light going out will signal the start of the race.
Bringing it around under the starters' orders. Everyone's in tram lines and we are go. Lights are out and we are underway here. Tommy Lawton bringing the field down into turn 1. How far off the race line is Sawyer to sneak on through? And he's going to challenge already. Look at him. He's up the inside. Can he get it done? Oh,
couple
just
of
about
carts turned around.
Mate, that was rough. There's a couple off already. I think that's Hayden Fraser in the dirt. But Sawyer is still challenging again at the dipper. Sawyer getting racy at the start, and Tommy Lawton's going to have to do it around the outside at the bus stop.
It's a big crisscross move. Lawton under fire, manages to get the job done. And your number 30 leads us out. Flynn Thompson relegated to P2. So they come through.
As they come down the line, Lawton leads from Sawyer. Young Liam Kane, I said to watch out for the kid from Collie. He goes to 3rd at the moment. The younger of the brothers, Luke Sawyer, down into the 4th spot. Flynn Thompson back to P5, then Kieran Ellis, Kev Dog Norman, Shane McPherson, the old-timer of the class from Morrissey, Hall, and Oriema in this one. Now, Oriema was caught up in the opening lap, but he managed to keep going. The same can't be said for Hayden Fraser, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a little tough. They've fluffed up this gravel out here at this awesome Wundowie go-kart track, and I have to say, it's a bit of a death sentence if you find yourself out in the weeds.
It's uber soft out there, and it's done for exactly one reason. That's to arrest the carts when they come off the racetrack. Instead of using tyre barriers like we used to have out here, as Kieran Ellis looks to the inside of Luke Sawyer up the end of the main straightaway, and Ellis going side by side in that KF Kart, but it's Tommy Lawton out front.
Lawton goes purple on that last sector, 42.81, his quickest time. When you can compare that to the 43.1s that we're seeing back in the pack, that's an incredible pace early on.
Mate, he's putting the move and putting the work into this track here, trying to open up a gap over Jake Sawyer. Lawton's the kind of guy who won't rest on his laurels either. He will never give up until that checkered flag drops. As we saw in KA3 earlier, trying to chase down Bree Rhodes in those closing stages. He does not give up until that checkered flag does drop. This man, Kieran Ellis, it can go either way for him. It's either on or it's not for Kieran. As we've got someone going through the dirt on the main straightaway. That's the 73 of Kevin Norman getting caught up through the dirt there. So he's going to drop all the way down, and he's down to P10 now.
Making our way down into the dipper. It's a very, very quick part of the track. Not only are you heading downhill as you get onto the brakes, but massive, massive change in direction there. Hard acceleration on the way through to the bus stop. We start to see drag races. The race leader, Thomas Lawton, in the second to last corner now, and he's skipped away to a fairly handy lead. That gap will update. But it was 0.8 of a second last time. That has blown out to double that.
And he's coming under huge amounts of pressure now from young Liam Kane. Great to see Liam back in fine form here. Had a bit of a mishap down in Bunbury a couple of months ago. Made a step back into the kart up in Geraldton not long ago for the final round of the Gold Star Series. But he is back in form and racing hard in the wet. It's great to see from this young kid from Collie.
The battle raging for second and third. Kane and Sawyer through the bus stop. And then it's a bit of a lonely race for Ellis, currently circulating in fresh, clean air. But no one really to battle with.
Ellis will just be hoping that the guys in front of him can check each other up and he can pick up the pieces and then get involved in a fight. He would love to stand on the podium. I mean, really, who wouldn't at any point in these race meetings? But Ellis takes a special amount of elation to be able to get this kart on the podium at any event he goes to.
10 laps remain, probably closer to 9.5 as they come out of the dipper and back into the light in the infield portion of this track.
Last time along, Tommy Lawton, 1.6 seconds clear of Jake Sawyer there. Sawyer putting in a best lap of the race for himself, a 42.709. for Jake, but Tommy Lawton, mate, a 42.6 was one of his slower laps, and he is still clicking off those quick ones. He goes quicker again, this time by a 42.3, just pummeling that gap, and no one's going to touch him tonight under lights.
This is his stomping ground. This is what the weekend's been building up to, and Lawton is just running away. An incredible sharp performance here. 9 laps to go. He owns the PB for the race at a 42.34. Still, even in these slippery conditions, able to lift that inside rear wheel through the bus stop. There's so much traction to be had with the correct setup.
Well, with the way the caster is set up on most of these karts, the outside front tyre lifts up away, so it tips the kart, and that's how they get them to turn in. But the quick thing and the best way to do it is to drop the steering to level as soon as you get across the apex and get the rear tyres both planted firmly into the ground to get as much traction on corner exit as you can. And especially in the wet conditions, you'll see the drivers leaning almost to excess. And back in the day, I think they might even still make it. There was this thing from Tillett Racing Seats called a Rainmaster. And basically, it was a molded foam block that went under your backside that lifted you up about 2 inches and got your center of gravity higher so you could lean more in the corners.
Seven laps to go. We have been in this final for just under 6 minutes now. Your race order looks like this. Lawton over Sawyer with Kane and Ellis and Thompson rounding out your top 5, Chris Mitchell.
It's looking like a bit of a runaway win here for Thomas Lawton. He's large and in charge out front, almost out to 3 seconds, as you said. But Sawyer and Kane are still hanging in there, and Ellis, last couple of laps, has been matching them on pace, but not quite enough to close the gap. So he needs something to happen in front of him to get in on the fight for the podium. As you see, Thomas Lawton understeering his way through that final corner, really working on the wheel. You've got to be careful not to take too much out of the tyres. Even in these conditions, they do still wear. It's not like wear is unlimited when the track gets wet. And if you take too much out of the fronts, you're only going to make the problem even worse as the race goes on.
Down into the dipper he comes. Everybody seems to have largely separated themselves out. You've got to move back to the rear of field to find any semblance of a battle pack here. The attrition rate hasn't taken too many away from us in this 79 Kart Sports Tag Light final. But Thomas Lawton, 9 laps under his belt.
These tag karts mighty difficult to race in the wet. The engine of choice being the IAMI X30 package. And the way they work, the power band, you just have to be in the throttle all the time. That's why we see the pack racing so vicious when we race tag in the dry. You cannot be off throttle for a split second because you'll get railroaded by several karts when we're racing in the dry. But in the wet, it's a different story. You're trying to stay into the throttle just to stop the kart from gagging up, but also trying not to break traction in the rear end at the same time.
We were having a chat about off-air about how obviously the moisture is a great equaliser, takes power and weight out of the equation to a certain extent. Is there anyone this weekend that you really think has really had that play into their hands?
I think Alex Stefanovic in KA3 was a good sign of that. I mean, Alec runs over the minimum weight of the class. He's always paying out a little bit of a deficit to the other kids. The same for James McCucci-Allen, but he didn't really get the benefit of that equaliser in KA3 Junior. But Steffa definitely stepped up to the mark and brought it to the front. In the wet, where driver skill comes more into the play, and you've got to get up on the wheel and rag it around the track to be fast.
Super wide entry on the way into the bus stop there for our driver on the, he was a 64 actually. I'll go through that. I've been commentating too many motorcycle sports. I keep wanting to say the rider.
Yeah, we got you for rider early on in the piece.
That was one.
You get the one out of the way
one.
and you're okay. We'll forgive you for that. But you're hanging around at motocross tracks, and we'll spend all our time at karting from here on out for the next couple of months.
It's going to be a while. So we catch up. Lawton still leads out. It was almost 3.5 second gap last time around. 3 laps remain. And here comes your race leader into the bus stop.
It doesn't look like Kieran Ellis has been really able to step up and go a little bit better here to chase down Liam Kane for that third spot. You see the back end of Lawton's kart dancing on the power as he tries to keep that smooth rotation off the corner at the right-handers. Ellis will be happy at least to move forward in the field. It was only a couple of months ago we were down in Coburn and it was wet down there, and I had a conversation with Kieran's dad in the morning. I said, wet weather is a great equaliser. You're either really fast or you're nowhere. And that day, Kieran won a race, but it was in the dry. And so that said as much as what I got out of Kieran Ellis. And that bred a few comments after the event where they came back at me. But Kieran seems to be improving in these wet weather conditions. He'll always be hoping for that little bit more to get it on the podium tonight.
Well, to accept the last lap board, your race leader, Thomas Lawton, makes his way onto the home straight for the final time in this 79 Kart Sports Tag Light Final.
Flying past the canteen and everyone hanging out over, enjoying themselves a nice beverage by the fire. Prime way to do it as the rain has subsided. The track is still wet, the air is cool. Nothing better than standing around a fireplace with a nice beverage in hand.
11 karts out on track. Action pretty much wherever you look. It's a great 3-kart battle coming past the canteen now.
As we follow him along, bringing him out of the final couple of corners. He's driven a faultless race in the wet here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Onto the main straightaway for one last time. Put your hands together. Thomas Lawton wins 125 Light here at the King of the Hill. Brought to you by 79 Kart Sports. Jake Sawyer brings it down the line for second. Liam Kane parks the number 6 KF kart on the podium in third, with Kieran Ellis coming home in P4. And Flynn Thompson rounding out your top 5 there. Luke Sawyer P6 from Ashley Morrissey in the 7. Shane McPherson in the 8 over Kevin Norman and Gianluca Oriema. Chantel Hall rounding out your 11 finishing drivers. That was Tag 125 Light, brought to you by 79 Kart Sport here at the 2021 King of the Hill at Hurricane Go-Kart Club.
Thomas Lawton with a flawless win. Congratulations, mate. Run me through that race.
Yeah, nah, pretty good race. Eurotech had the kart set up to absolute perfection. It made my life so much easier. And yeah, just cruised through for the win. So yeah, awesome.
79 Kart Sports Tag Light Division. You have taken the crown. Anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Just big thanks to the whole Eurotech team. My dad, Sean, Sheldon, Corey. They put up so much effort. The whole team, the vibe's so awesome in there. And yeah, it's just great. So yeah, thanks to all them.
Well done, mate. Congratulations.
Cheers, thank you.
Back to you, Chris.
Well, we are getting ready to do it all over again here. 125 restricted medium coming out for their 15-lapper. And this is going to be a fantastic race. Let's check out previous winners of the King of the Hill here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club all the way back to 2010 with Tim Simons, your first winner here. More recent winners have gone the way of ARC Karting, Adam Kornick, even Troy Stewart in 2018. Graham Westling took out the win in 2019 on a practically debut with the Paralon kart, and then back to Jay Bunton last year, taking out the win in 125 restricted medium. He's gone on to race 125 heavies and had a bit of a shocker weekend, but he enjoys getting out and getting the elbows out. Are we ready to crown potentially a new King of the Hill tonight, J-Mac?
Well, I think there's a massive mix. If I look in there, no one's taken it 2 years in a row.
We took the graphic off him.
Great stuff. I'm looking through that. No one's taken this this award 2 years in a row. So I reckon we're going to add a new one to the list. That's my bet.
I'd be on it. I don't think we've ever added 2 names, not even in a row, but at all. Winning 2 of them is a hard one here. One man who would be thinking he's got a pretty high chance right now after being nowhere in qualifying, 9th in Heat 1, 24th in Heat 2. He won Heat 3 as the only driver on wets. Look who's on pole, Christopher Strawn in the KF kart. Man, his heart must be racing right now.
Well, I mean, coming into this weekend, he was looking like a pretty good chance, but just had an absolutely horrible, horrible day's racing, you were telling me earlier today.
The same thing goes for Carlos Del Toro in the West Oz Transport, number 19. He starts on the outside front row. So we've got 2 guys who have struggled all day long and are just starting to peak at the right point of the day here in 125 restricted medium.
Waiting for that light to go out.
There's hands in the air, and I don't think our starter is quite happy with that one. We look further back. It's Paul Hughes in the 47 machine on the second row of the grid, and I think he's right alongside the number 5 of Paul King. Jacob Politano back there on the third row with Matthew Wilkins in the mix as well. Now, Wilkins took a win earlier in the day, but he has some work to do, and he's got the likes of Graham Westling to be racing out with as well. It's a big ask, but we go back one favourite from earlier in the day who might have something to say in this one. If he's any good in the wet, I don't know. Cooper Cutts in the BRM kart.
Well, he was definitely happy when we had a chat to him after his heat. Let's see how we go. We are lights out.
It was a very late lights out start, but we are underway. And it's Carlos Del Toro getting the best of the starts here. Big gaggle of carts. Oh, someone facing the wrong way, and that was a big hit into the chicane. And there is go-karts everywhere, and I think there's a Westie in there that was facing the wrong way at that point.
I see the 28 machine in there too.
Graham Westling, that is him in there as well. It could be, it's either 28 or 78 actually. I might just hold my breath on that one because there's another flat-out karts machine that's up there as well. And that's actually the 89 of Brad Smith in the mix. And Matthew Wilkins is in the field still. So it is Graham Westling. So a previous winner of this race out of contention on the opening lap. That's got to hurt.
Carlos Del Toro out to an early lead, 1.2 seconds ahead of this swarm of drivers.
Look at the gap they have, though. Del Toro back to Strawn. And then Politano back there in the third spot. He is already 2 seconds off the back of Strawn and 3.3 seconds off the back of the race lead. There's just this massive gaggle of karts going around further behind. That is crazy as we pick up the 80. It's the 89 actually showing up of Brad Smith now into the third spot. So Politano's lost a spot in the 71 machine. He's down to the 4th spot. Brad Smith, mate, he's a wily old driver. He might have something to say in the wet here.
Tag 125 restricted. Medium guys out on track for the Perth Heavy Haulage sponsored final. The outgrid is a gaggle of activities. We get ready for the next final. But we still have 13 laps to run the distance here.
Just checking on these lap times at the moment. Del Toro is the fastest on track, but Smith is not far off him on lap speed. Strawn, by the looks of it, doesn't have the pace to go with Carlos right now. He's lapping in the 44 zeros, whereas Del Toro and Smith, either side of him, are running in the 43 5s and 43 6 respectively. So it looks like Christopher Strawn might become our third place driver after some time, but Brad Smith has some work to do. 1.4 seconds a gap, and now Strawn picks up the pace. He goes to a 43.8. Sorry, yes, a 43.8. Carlos Del Toro, though, a 42.7. Del Toro starting to come good at the right point of the weekend. Now, let me cast my mind back. I think it was last year's race that Del Toro and it was Damon Nicoli got caught up with each other at some point during the weekend that really spelled disaster for their chances. But this could be redemption for Carlos Del Toro in the number 19.
Del Toro still purple with a 42.772. And over 2.5 seconds ahead of Strawn running in the 2 spot.
Just watching this battle going on screen right now. Paul Hughes fighting it out. And the 81 machine of, oh geez, pick on that one. I think it might be even the 88 as they come down. Cooper Cutts is in that fight as well. It is just a knife fight to try and be inside the top 10. No one is giving an inch out there.
It looks like an all-out brawl too as they come around the canteen, but we join on our screens to the number 24, Strawn. Currently battling and has his hands full with Brad Smith as they come into the penultimate corner. Smith forces the issue up the inside. Superior mid-corner speed there.
Just looking at their helmets, you can see the VOC.
Yeah, they're fogged up.
Inside their visors. How they are managing to see anything right now is beyond me. Be like Ray Charles trying to drive around the racetrack out here. That is hard work.
Driving by Braille.
Yeah. Brad Smith goes to the second spot now, puts Strawn down to P3 here. Meanwhile, Del Toro trying to emulate that of Tommy Lawton.
There it is.
That we saw a little while ago.
You can see they're now really struggling with the visor and trying to clear it as best they can.
Strawn getting all sorts of opposite lock there, coming into the left-right section. He's dropped off to third, but it doesn't look like he can do much about the pace of Brad Smith ahead of him. The old trick that we used to tell the new kids when they join karting is if it's raining and you're fogging up, open the visor, but no one would ever tell you about how bad it stings when the water droplets are just smashing you in the face and you have to do the remaining 9 laps of the race like that. It is painful work, and that's one of the worst things about racing in the wet out here. It just gets in your eyes, and you can't see, even with the visor open.
I was doing a track day and, Wundowie Raceway and 140 k's an hour. Even at that sort of low speed, that is just brutal. Brutal on the eyes and nose.
The casting out, panning shot across the racetrack. The 26 machine running around the track at the moment.
Matthew Coburn
currently down in the 19th spot. But it looks like Christopher Strawn is starting to find a bit of pace. He's set a personal best lap of a 43.7, but not going to be good enough to catch a man on camera. As Strawn goes through onto the back straight, Brad Smith last lap putting in a 43.0. He was in fact quicker than your race leader, Carlos Del Toro, with a 43.1, but not going to be enough to make up that 5.2 second deficit to your race leader.
So Brad Smith coming up on some traffic. Here he comes, ducks to the inside. Rounds them up, 2 for the price of 1.
He's watching as Matthew Coburn just rolling out of the throttle to let both Smith and Strawn go on through. Matthew Wilkins has been driving his way forward, actually. He's just moved himself up and he's finding himself circulating in the 5 spot here after a bit of a frantic start to this race, but he is a long way off the back of Jacob Politano for 4th on the road as we pick up this man. It's a Formula K kart for West Oz Transport. Carlos Del Toro down the line, and he's rocking the black plates on board as well for a zone championship winner. Going to give J-Mac an education on what the coloured plates mean. He's giving me a sideways look as he's working the wheel hard through the chicane here. And we are 6 laps to go. Last time by for Del Toro out front. This is a man in second, Brad Smith right now.
Decent gap, 5.53 seconds, the distance between P1 and 2. Strawn, another 3 seconds back behind Brad Smith. Your race leader on screen now in this tag-restricted medium final, brought to you by Perth Heavy Haulage.
Look at him sliding across the racetrack. He is absolutely committed. Del Toro is not buttoning off for anyone, and I'm not even sure he'll slow down once he sees the checkered flag. He is driving like a man possessed. He actually has a clear visor, which doesn't have any fog in it. So he's done the right thing. He's got the Rain-X out on the visor early and got that scrubbed up so he stays in fine form, using that extra wide line right all the way into the dipper to keep the corner speed up.
Racing under lights here at the King of the Hill. And this is Smith, currently second on the road. He's got a massive gap ahead of him and really muscles this thing through that final corner, opens up the taps. It's cold. It's slippery. You can't see a thing.
You probably, at this rate, you can't feel your fingers or your toes.
Nope.
That's something we haven't really considered. But for Brad Smith, you know, he's only come back to karting inside the last 12 months after taking a fair while off. But he has gone from strength to strength on his return to karting. Of course, with the help of Simon Minton and Minton Motorsport, Smith is continuing to improve on his speed as we go back to your race leader. Coming up onto the main straightaway, just coming up onto the back of the 20 machine. As they come down the line, Carlos Del Toro leads the way with 3 laps left to go. As Brad Smith crosses the line, it's 4.8 seconds the gap, so Smith is pulling him in here and there. Last lap it was actually to the tune of 0.7 of a second.
Has he got what it takes to do it all in 2.5 laps, though?
He's going to need something to go wrong for Del Toro, and I'm going to knock on the wood because I'm not putting that mocker on anyone out here. I've got a knack for doing that in commentary as there's a big gaggle going down the straight.
In through turn 1. Looks like that was Dean, Cuts, Hume and Lee. Or rather, sorry, I think it was Rundell.
All fighting it out. Brad Smith has his work finding his way around that group. And we are focused on Cooper Cuts right now in this BRM kart. Struggling in these conditions after being an early contender in the heat races. He's down in 11th last time across the line and fighting his way through. It is tough to learn how to drive a racetrack in the wet in just the space of 1 lap.
Back on with your race leader, Carlos Del Toro, into the bus stop. And it's a sizable gap, but he hasn't lifted the hammer at all. Brad Smith was 0.3 of a second quicker last time around. The gap's absolutely huge, 4.5 seconds. As Del Toro receives the last lap board, looks up at our starter and goes, "Oh, are you serious? There's more?"
He'll be breathing a sigh of relief, I'm sure. Only 1 more to go, but you can't let off the gas yet. You've got to stay focused. You've got to stay into it because it's the moment where you relax that you'll make a mistake and hand it over to the guy sizing you up further back on the road. But he is down in the seat and looking around, and he's actually looking over his shoulder at the left rear of the kart. He's checking on something on board the kart, but he's working his way around and into the final couple of corners. Carlos Del Toro making his way down to the line, and he will add his name into the books. Del Toro is your king of the hill for tag 125 restricted medium. Brad Smith, a solid result home in second. Christopher Strawn will be happy to recover his day of racing with a podium result in third.
Not the tightest top order as we look back to the battle that is still raging for the minor placings. Into the final corner now, this 5-car snake coming on through. So your top 10 look like this. Del Toro takes it out with Brad Smith, Strawn in third, Politano fourth, Wilkins comes in fifth, Owens in sixth, Josh Hunt, Dean Rundell, Cooper Cuts and Bradley Dean round out your top 10 in this tag restricted medium final, brought to you by Perth Heavy Haulage. We're going to go downstairs, have a chat to Carlos Del Toro.
The other way, and the cut was great in the wet.
These finals have had a way of throwing up some simply wild competition. How'd you find the other rounds there?
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers in there. There's 10 or so that really take it to me. That time of the week, track just worked, fine, but in the drive would be a different story.
Well, best of luck, mate, and your future endeavours. We'll look forward to seeing more of you, mate.
No problem. Thank you.
Can you just hold for a second? No, I don't think we're through or something.
We are on for KZ2. Getting into a massive show. Ready to go racing. This is the big one. 25 laps of racing coming at you for KZ2. It's a BRM 1-2 on the starting grid. From your championship leader, Sam Dicker, starting third on the grid. Dan Curry right there in the 4th spot. We are set to battle under lights here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club. Lights out and racing. Middick leading from the start. Going to get away in the spray. Sam Dicker will go through the second. Tommy Shu in the third as they rocket out of turn 1. Daniel Sugar trying to do the long way. They all jump the curb. Coming past the canteen. But it's an early lead here from Nick Middick over Dicker. Then Tommy Shu as they head down the back straightaway. Dashing through the spray. The rain has subsided since the sun went down. But the track is still wet and greasy out there. It's Nick Middick, your leader in the opening lap, J-Mac.
Middick had a fantastic Heat 3 result with a big win to his name. He's out to an absolutely awesome start. Another move from the BRM card up into second place.
Tommy Shu fighting his way back here. There might have been a team discussion because if Middick can get a win and keep pushing Sam Dicker down the order, they can keep pulling points back in on Sam Dicker. And you'd have to say, into this one now, coming out of this weekend's round, if they stay how they are, Nick Middick will be in with a shout of leading this championship heading into the final round, and it is going to be uber tight for the West Australian KZ Series.
Big move up into P3. That was Curry over Dicker, if I'm not mistaken. We'll check it as they come past our position.
That was, and it's checked up. It's brought Gwilliam into it as well now. So Dicker losing ground very quickly. He's dropped a couple spots. Now he's back into the clutches of his championship rival coming into this round, Jake Claridge. He loses the ground to him. They're going to go wheel to wheel. Claridge gives him the spot. But this puts Dicker down the order as Nick Middick starting to sail away with this one under lights and in the rain.
And the good news about this track is that it's now consistent. There's no dry patches, there's no real standing water. It's just clean sailing. As long as you keep your kart and your tyres in the operating window, you don't really have to worry about any curveballs in that regard.
As they come down out of the dipper, this battle falling for third here, Simon Gwilliam and Daniel Curry. Man, they were going at it hard in Heat 3 earlier, and it looks like we're just going to pick up that battle where they left off, and that could end in tears with all these guys stacking up behind him as well.
Curry and Gwilliam are just turning it up. As they come out of our shot, we turn our attention back to the 9.
It's a 95 of Claridge with Dicker in hopper shoot, putting the pressure on. And Bender and someone else is in on that fight as well. I think that's Riley Traeger in there.
I tell you what, you said. These KZs are just an absolute animal.
Proper rapidly quick here as Simon Gwilliam clicks it down a couple of gears, under brakes into the bus stop. He's grabbed himself a bit of a buffer over Daniel Curry. He's a multi-time series champ in the West Australian KZ Series. He's won I think he won 3 championships in a row through 2016 and onwards, but he is muscling this thing around, but he's lost out on the ground to Simon Gwilliam now. That puts Gwilliam into third, nice and clear from Curry, and then Dicker down in P5.
Claridge on the outside of that top 5 spot looking in. He's got himself a 1/4 of a second gap if he wants to try and get up a spot.
Got to say, great things for Tommy Shu, though. He's been quietly achieving what many would dream to do in this class as they both jump the curb on the inside of the bus stop. While Nick Middick leads, Tommy Shu is on for probably his best run in the KZ Series he's had so far, only stepping into it within the last 12 months. He started off slow, built slowly through the midfield, just having fun, but he is into it, and he is pushing Nick Middick along to make it a BRM 1-2 so far in this final.
Dicker's gotten up and finds himself in the 4th spot. Claridge gets into the top 5, and Curry's on the outside looking in.
We'll see what Sam Dicker can do with this. He'll be constantly thinking about that points game. there's a risk versus reward that you're constantly running that kind of calculation in your mind. Do I send it on Simon Gwilliam and risk a DNF here, or do I consolidate 4th place and just try and pick up the points? Because some points is still better than no points.
Absolutely. I mean, it is King of the Hill, though, and everything kind of goes out the window, even if you are running in the KZ2s. But there is so much at stake with every single race counting to the points.
I love that synchronized head checks from both Dicker and Claridge then down the straight. They turned around at the same time saying, I'm not looking at you, looking at me. And looking behind to see where they're stacking up behind him. But Claridge and Dicker are both gapping out from this battle behind him, as it looks like Bender has now dropped off Curry by one, and Dicker up the inside of Gwilliam. And that checks him up. And there goes Claridge trying to get in on the fight as well. Gwilliam slotted back into the 4th spot, so now Sam Dicker back to 3rd, but that's a big old margin to make up to try and catch your leaders, Middick and Shu.
Yeah, 2.1 seconds. That is absolutely monumental. Although there is 18 laps left to go, this is a 25-lap haul right to the finish.
I mean, if it was a slick tyre race, they'd be working on the compounded effects of all their racing they've done today, but now they're just trying to stay consistent and just look after these tyres a little bit in the wet weather conditions. They had a fully wet race on them before, and that's probably played to their benefit. We've had races before as Claridge goes up the inside of the bus stop on Gwilliam, and he gets the job done. I was saying we've had races before where it's rained, everyone's gone out on wets and absolutely torched the tyres, and if it rains again after that, they're up the creek without the paddle, mate.
Big barge there from Gwilliam on, from Dicker on Claridge.
Dicker in this Fernando Alonso kart, the new generation of FA kart coming out in 2021, making a step away from what he's run in the past as one of the BRM boys dragging their kart off the racetrack. That's a Priolo, I believe, as Nicola Middick has made a bit of a error down under brakes into the bus stop, and that's dragged him right up onto the front bumper of Tommy Shu, possibly distracted by his BRM teammate pushing the kart off the edge of the racetrack down at the bus stop there. I think we may have lost Priolo out of that one. David Priolo in the 8 machine out of contention here. Good to see him back in a kart and racing, though, before he makes a step into a 410 wing sprint car in coming months.
So your top 5 looks like this. Middick over Thomas Shu in 2nd place. Samuel Dicker in 3rd. Claridge in 4th, with Simon Gwilliam rounding out your top 5. The battle rages here with 16 laps to go in the PatriziCourse.com KZ2 final.
It's looking very tight, and Tommy Shu is looking incredibly racy right now. You want to start knocking on the door because Sam Dicker is coming, and Nick Middick would want to hang on to this win and would be really, really wishing he had some form of communication back to Tommy to say, we're not done yet, we've got a job to do here, because Sam Dicker is closing down that gap. Last time by, he was 1.2 seconds faster than Middick out front. Dicker is on a mission to claw his way back into the fight as Shu over the curves. Look at the sparks out from behind him. This is a race for the ages in the top 3.
I say Shu has been taking liberties with the curves quite a bit over the last 2 laps, but he's been making it look good. Big move up the inside at the bus stop, and Dicker nabs a spot, looks to try and grab another.
Dicker has been monstering the lap speed out of this machine the last couple of laps, and has now immediately found himself onto the rear bumper of Nick Middick as they come down the line. Simon Gwilliam's not far behind with Jake Claridge as well, but now Middick under pressure, and it looks like he is going to be a sitting duck for Sam Dicker.
There it is.
It just gets it done like it was nothing.
Did Middick run that line wide?
He just left him room, mate. Dicker's coming through, and Middick has just let him go on by. These two not really challenging at all here. No, Dicker is driving forward.
You can see the gap already starting to develop. Dicker is just putting on a masterclass in these middle stages of the race. We've got 14 laps remaining of this 25-lap sprint. Well, Middick falls down the pace a little more as Shu gets up around him in the second to last corner. Shu is going to give chase in the 75 BRM kart and try and get onto the back of our race leader, Sam Dicker.
Well, the attitude has definitely changed for Nick Middick. It's no longer a race of I'm leading, I've got this in the bag. It's damage control now because his championship contenders and rivals of Jake Claridge up the inside at the dipper now. sends it up the inside. I wonder if Middick is nursing some sort of issue, because he is struggling a lot worse than that of Tommy Shue. They both let Sam Dicker get by, but he is really hurting, as it looks like the track is starting to tack off a little bit. You can see there's a dry set of grooves down the main straightaway. He might have overheated the tyres.
It's entirely possible. These wets, I mean, yeah, they're sticky, but man, oh man. Big wipe under the visor there for Middick and the 96. Back with your race leader, Sam Dicker.
There's plenty of standing water still in the bitumen right at the top of the hill there. You can see the spray coming off the back of the carts, but you can't see much of it on other parts of the track when they're coming down. As we follow along the battle between Claridge and then Gwilliam, with Bender stacking up behind him now, or that's Middick, sorry, has now dropped behind both of them. So Middick really on the back foot here in the final.
It's amazing how quickly this track can change. At the start of the race, I was saying, great, this is a completely consistent race line. It's got water everywhere. You can go nuts, and just this amount of traffic has sponged it all off, moved it all aside. We've got a real quick racy line happening.
Starting to really fan out, but this is where the tyres will start to actually overheat, and they'll start having to search for moisture on the track to try and keep the tyres inside the window. But I think Middick might be nursing some sort of issue. He has had gearbox issues in the past. I think it was late last year down at Bunbury City Kart Club as the last round for their championship, or the second last round for their championship. He had a gearbox issue that brought him unstuck in the final, but he is looking like he is really hurting on pace, which is very uncharacteristic for Nick. So that's why I go straight to the mechanical issue route. It is not like seeing Nick like this.
Gwilliam looking to get up the inside over Claridge to try and find his way into a podium position. The battle is raging. Claridge working hard on the wheel. Gwilliam is plucking gears down into the dipper they come. Slightly wider line there from Gwilliam, but Claridge manages to pull a bit of a lead in the drag race down into the bus stop, Chris.
Claridge looking like he's really uncomfortable with the car, but you can see how much he's squaring off the corner and trying not to side load the tyres too much. These tyres really don't like to be side loaded. Even the wet tyres, the slicks are even worse for it. You have to drive very much point to point between the corners, and stopping on the apex and driving out straight is the way to go with a KZ kart. But they come past and they get a lap done on young Ethan Potter in the 43 machine. And they are putting the moves on. We are inside the final 10 laps, J-Mac. 9 to go here in the final.
Gwilliam is really piling the pressure onto Claridge where he can.
They are actually both starting to pile on the pressure to Tommy Shue now. So Shuey's starting to hurt just in a very similar fashion like Middick was. Maybe they've just overstepped the mark on the setup and went out on something that wasn't going to hang on all race long. Sam Dicker was nowhere in the opening laps. He was struggling really bad. He survived. And look at him now. He's out front with a 2.7 second margin. No one's touching Dicker tonight.
Watching on as Shue looked a little uncomfortable making his way in towards the canteen chicane. He's still got a handy gap over Claridge and Gwilliam, who've got their own battle going on. Through the dipper they come. This is P2 back to P4.
Sam Dicker, well and truly checked out from this battle. Will be absolutely stoked to get out here in trying conditions as well. And Sam and Nicola, both two of the blokes who probably do the least amount of practice in this series as well, actually. They're both very much tied up with their own duties of driver coaching and running other programs. And Sam, of course, the front man for Sam Dicker Motorsports and in the Flat Out Karts team, spends more time coaching and working on other karts than he does driving. But he's proving tonight he's still got what it takes, and that's why he's a championship leader before he came into this round tonight.
Watching on, Thomas Shue into the bus stop in the 75 kart. Really hopping over the curbs is Jake Claridge. And Claridge up the inside, gets the job done. Can he hold it onto the home straight? Yes, he's jumped on up. Claridge into P2. But Shue fights back.
Yeah, he's ripping on the wheel as Jake trying to get that kart turned in at the end of the straight here. Shuey behind him now going to be under pressure from Gwilliam if he doesn't get a hurry up and push Claridge along. And they're starting to really monster on top of these BRM karts, seemingly struggling in the stage as he fires almost into the back of Claridge, and that brought him unstuck. And that puts Gwilliam hot on his heel. That really caught Shuey out here. And Claridge driving it really square on the apex. But here's your leader, coming up to go 5 laps to go. Look at him leaning in the seat, and he's almost stretching out, barely trying and barely able to grab that shifter to change through the gears. There's a big shower of sparks out the back of Jake Claridge.
Shu doing everything he can to get that BRM up onto the back of Claridge. Williams just getting sucked along for the ride here. As Shu finally gets within striking distance. Big tag on the way into the dipper. Hello, Mr. Claridge, I'm here. Player 3 has entered the game in the form of Gwilliam.
It seems like every time that Shuey's lining up that run at the dipper, Claridge is driving a brilliantly defensive line into the hairpin and checking it up on the apex, which brings Shuey unstuck because he has to stop it right on the bumper of Claridge, and that hurts his run down to the bus stop as Shu all out of shape coming onto the main straightaway. Got it bellied out just where the track drops off to the gravel, just a couple of degrees off the side there. But it's red hot and tight for those remaining podium spots. Shuey still wants it. He wants to stay on the podium to be the sole BRM in there. But meanwhile, Sam Dicker still maintaining that lead. Nice and clear, 3.7 seconds out front.
I gotta say, overcoming any obstacle, Claridge is really putting in the drive of his life. It may only be for a runner-up position, but still, incredible effort.
Jake's the kind of bloke who will definitely play the series game, and he will play this championship all the way into the final race at the final round later on this year, as Dicker using the curbs to rotate the kart up at the chicanes. Now, this is a hallmark of a great driver who's done a lot of laps in a tag kart, because that's what they do, use the curbs to help turn the kart so you're not loading up the tyre. As Claridge has trouble getting through the gears. He was bogged down coming off the dipper there, and Shuey had to drive around him. Now he's back under pressure from Simon Gwilliam for third.
Gwilliam is ever looming. If there were rear view mirrors on these things, it'd be full of Gwilliam. Into the final corner they come. Gwilliam looks to try and mount a run down the home straight. Claridge covers off the inside line. Gwilliam super wide through the early stages of turn 1 there. Running that wet race line.
Simon has that ultra relaxed driving style. He sits back in the seat. He doesn't really move around too much in there. Jake, though, he's wrestling an octopus in that thing. As we pick up Sam Dicker out of the bus stop on his second to final lap. He's in charge, mate. He's going to bring this one around in the 72. Sam Dicker Motorsports, Simon Minton Motorsports, flat-out kart entry.
Watching on as we come on to the home straight for the final lap. Your race leader. And if all goes to plan, he will become your race winner for the final race of the day here at the King of the Hill. The PatriziCourse.com KZ2 final, a 25-lap onslaught coming to a close.
It's a brutal old race, and there'll be some sore bodies after this, but it's still going down behind him. Claridge and Shu having discussions about second and third, and Claridge has got back to the 2 spot, putting Shu on the back foot. But I think he's got it consolidated, not going to come under pressure from Gwilliam in these final laps as Sam Dicker brings it out of the final corners and onto the main straightaway. Put your hands together as Sam Dicker takes the win in the KZ2 final. He's a winner here in Wundowie. Dicker wins KZ2. Jake Claridge will pick up second. Thomas Shu will hang on by the skin of his teeth to come home on the podium in third. Simon Gwilliam in fourth. Ryan Bender in fifth. Nick Middick will grab the 6th spot. But Sam Dicker is your winner under lights tonight here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club in PatriziCourse.com's KZ2 here at the Able Finance King of the Hill.
The PatrizziCourse.com KZ2 final has come to a close, and Sam Dicker, we didn't know if you were going to be able to find your way back up into the lead group, let alone take it out all the way with a big win. Congratulations, mate. Job well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was in the same boat. I had Jake there, which I'm tight in the championship with. So at the start of the race, I started racing with him. And I had the mentality of as many times I can pass him back means he potentially might stay behind me. And then I started sort of figuring out, and I don't know, Kart just took off. I don't know what we did, but it got good.
We saw that BRM Kart pair of Middick and Shu getting out to a fairly decisive early lead. We thought maybe that was going to be the tail of the tape, but a fantastic fight back from yourself. Tell me, how did the kart go out there in these conditions?
Yeah, at the start of the race, very similar to last race. I just had nothing for the BRM boys. But in the later laps, it just seemed to take off. I'm not sure if through a bit different tyre pressure, but with our chassis, we seemed to find we always got good pace late in the race, and I didn't know if that would translate to the wet conditions. But yeah, crazy fast at the start, so I was lucky not to get caught up in traffic and be able to make my way back.
Looking forward, what does the rest of the KZ2 Championship hold for you? What are you hoping to achieve?
Look, want to hang on to the lead of the championship. Obviously, like winning finals, but sometimes that's not what you need to set out to do if you're trying to win the championship. So next race meetings, just conserve and try our best, race the race meeting as it is, but make sure we stay away from DNFs and stuff like that.
Well, a nice way to sort of go about it. Keep a cool head on your shoulders. Thank you so much, and congratulations once again, mate.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Well, let's get you off exit stage left. Chris Mitchell, what a weekend. What a day of racing.
It's been a long day, as we like to do it here at the King of the Hill, but we have got through 240 entries, 11 classes, done by 7:30 at night. Even with the rain coming in, the onslaught all day long has been non-stop. But hats off to all the officials and the volunteers, canteen staff, even people out here all week long getting this facility ready. There's a lot of stuff that people don't see that goes into making this event happen, even down to sourcing all these fantastic sponsors that make this kind of event happen. Without these people, this show doesn't happen, and we don't get to have fun doing what we do with go-karts out here at Hurricane Go-Kart Club.
As we close it out, give me your one pick of the weekend. What was your standout moment?
Mate, a 53 thousandths of a second win in Cadet 12 has to be one of the standouts, and Cadet 12s always turn it on. The kids love turning it up here, and mate, my heart is broken for Chase Wildman, but a stellar win for Ben Hall, and that's how racing goes, and no matter what, it'll strengthen their character. That's going to be my number one for today.
Well, to close things out for the Able Finance Broking Services King of the Hill, it's been absolutely awesome, Chris. What's next on the cards?
Mate, 5 weeks' time, West Australian Kart Championships. We will be here all weekend long. It is going to be an incredible event, and we get to hand out some blue plates. It's the number one event of the state of the year, and we are going to have the whole country watching as we bring you the best show in Australian karting. Don't miss it. The WA Kart Championships on 4-Star Media. If you can't be here, you got to catch it.
Absolutely. From everyone here at the Hurricane Kart Club, thank you and good night.